I'm
Like, I
pretty
don't
sure.
think for all the people that complain about him on Twitter, I think everybody that meets him and like the dude has Mark Ruffalo defending him from Twitter zombies. Like he's got to be a likable guy.
Well, yeah. Likable though. I don't know. From what I understand, there's a lot of big assholes in the industry, and
Oh, absolutely.
Hello to Marania and everyone else watching right now. We're
Are we
live.
live? Oh shoot!
uh,
Oh,
there's my lovable co-host always trying to ruin my schemes.
Ruin it. I'm sticking up for my co-host. You're trying to sabotage him.
I like the cold open.
Yeah, it's because you and I
Yeah, you
are
complain
honest. We
about him.
don't have anything to hide.
Hello to Marania.
Yeah, I don't have anything to hide. What are you hiding?
Zach, didn't you just complain last week? You're sick of the cold opens.
I wasn't here last week.
The last time we did this, you complained about you and your cold opens, Ash.
I think it was you.
Nope. I love the cold opens.
So
Well,
much that
then
he's
why'd you
paranoid
ruin
about
it?
him. Yeah.
Something's not making
Whoa,
sense.
whoa! Now we're putting words in my mouth. Paranoid? I never. When did I say paranoid?
You
I'm gonna
didn't.
show up
I
on
said you're
camera one
paranoid.
day,
I put
and I'm
words
gonna
in my
have
mouth and I spit
I'm
them at
gonna
you.
Ugh.
I'm gonna go full Charlie Day mode and have like a conspiracy chart of all the times where you've said you hate cold
Oh,
opens.
is one of those charts gonna have the word pirate on it?
Why? Why would
Because
it
you
have the
don't.
word pirate?
Because you don't know what the word private means. So you think it says pirates? Charlie Day's character couldn't spell in Sunny to Philadelphia. If you watch the show.
I've seen like 3 episodes and none of
Oh.
them had that meme.
Oh
So
my.
I want to watch more because Charlie Kirk is a gem of a television star. I do like Charlie Kirk a lot.
I love the dentist program. Once you get to that episode, let me know. That is a fun show.
I gotta get back into that show. I binged it like years ago, however many seasons there were at the time, but they've just been they've kept making it, and I got out of it. But it's a show that I like simultaneously liked, but also kind of got annoyed with because it was so like nihilistic
Branchy.
and just
It really was.
Yeah, and so after a while, I'm like, man, but I couldn't. I was like, but it is funny, like.
It was funny.
So it's one of those. It was almost like masochism to watch the show.
Yeah, it's like
It's
punching
like
yourself.
majority shows are on TV since the 2000s. Any comedies, you watch them as Instagram reels or YouTube clips. That's it. Because you watch too much and you realize, why the hell is this still on?
Not me. I watch good stuff. That's why I don't watch trash.
I know. That's why I watch them in clips. I watch them. How You Met Your Mother was another one of those things, or The Big Bang Theory. How those lasted more than a couple seasons?
I think a lot of people just watch clips of stuff because
I like How I Met Your Mother.
That's why people are able to defend atrocious stuff. Like the big thing right now, and I'm kind of halfway convinced that it's a lot of the paid NPCs that we found out about just last month they kind of got Hollywood got caught, like having people out there like paid essentially to start up stuff about their product. Well, anyways, this happened, and the whole thing with the Marvels movie, like what I see on Twitter is like the most unbelievable shilling for the movie. And I don't really even see that much like negative stuff except in the comments of the people who shill, because it's like a movie that I think the people who aren't interested just legitimately, they're not even offended anymore. They're just like, whatever. They're just like done, and they're not even bothered to tweet about it. And so you've got these other people who are the bad actors who are like, the Marvels is the greatest and it's the biggest. What was the one that I just saw recently? I posted on Twitter. It's the biggest comic book movie opening by a black female director of all time. And I'm like, it's also the worst MCU opening of all time. So while you're trying to prop up,
I don't know if I would say it's that. I don't know if I would say it's the worst. I think Captain Marvel was worse.
No,
Captain Marvel made over $1 billion.
Yeah,
a billion manufactured dollars.
but
I still don't think that it made as much as they claim.
well, it's just worth as far as opening, box office opening, it's worse than The Flash, worse than the original Miss Marvel, or sorry, Captain Marvel. I mean, what was the other one? There was another movie that was. They said it was worse than. Was it worse than?
Morbius? No, Morbius actually did better.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, because it said like. So and yet they believe the reason they think the reason it didn't win because angry old white males, men in general, just hate women's. That's the whole thing. We hate we hate women.
I'm confounded by the self unawareness of people who make tweets like this. It's like,
Oh, it's no, they know it's. I don't think that.
No, listen. They're claiming like it's the biggest opening of a comic book movie by a black female director ever, which is true because there haven't been any black female directors directing any movies. So if you're the first, you're simultaneously the best. Of course, you're also simultaneously the worst, but they don't talk about that. But the real thing is like it's like talking about Obama being president or what's her name, Janine Carrier, whatever the secretary.
It's race baiting.
No, here's the thing. Or Kamala Harris being the first female vice president. What you're doing is you're pointing out that the big achievement, oh, look, it's the first black female directed comic book movie. What you're really doing is you're highlighting the fact that the biggest failure was by a black female. That's what you're really highlighting, but they don't say it that way. And when I look at it, I'm like, this is the soft bigotry of low expectations. They're basically like, look what the good black girl did. Look, she did 10% as good as anyone else could do, but we should praise her. And I'm like, that is so offensive to me. And I'm like, why is that not offensive to like black people or women?
The way I'm reading is that they're saying that you're bigots because you didn't go watch this movie. You just support a black woman.
Yeah,
directing this.
And see,
that's the whole entire goal.
I can't be affected by that because I have gone to see the movie. So
I saw it opening weekend.
Yeah, so me and you, we went and saw it. Well, you saw it opening weekend. I saw it on week 2. I just saw it this weekend. And I'm going to say something controversial here. I'm going to say something. I liked it better than the first Captain Marvel.
Yes, I have one. Me and Ash have the same opinion.
Is that because they had the Little Miss Marvel girl in there? Kamala?
Yeah.
No, I did not like the Marvel's TV, or sorry, the Miss Marvel TV show. I'm one of the big naysayers, but she is better in this movie than she is in the TV show. In fact, she's kind of like the saving grace of the movie. Her character is the best thing about this movie.
And that's I heard. A lot of people said that she doesn't deserve the crap this movie's getting, that she's a great actress. And that she's also a huge comic book nerd too, outside of this.
She really delivers astoundingly well for what she's given to work with, right? Like, she didn't write the movie, she didn't direct the movie, she didn't shoot the movie, right? It's not none of this. She just is an actress. She's given a script. Her job is to do it as best she can. I'm not a Miss Marvel fan. I don't like it. I didn't like the TV show. I have no investment. But she was the best thing about this movie, in my opinion. The second thing I will give credit to this movie for is it made Carol Danvers better. Like, I'm not a fan. I still don't care. I'm not going to be like, yeah, I can't wait for Captain Marvel 3. No, I don't care. But in the first movie, I literally sit there, I watch it, and I get angry because I hate her character so much. I just want her to die. In this movie, I'm like, oh my, you humanized her. You, as much as you could with Brie Larson, but she did. She feels softer.
You could with the failure of a first act, and
she feels softer. She feels more feminine. She actually sheds tears. You're like, wait, she's crying.
Did they put a CG smile on her? Did they give her a CG smile?
No, not only does she cry in the movie, but she cries because she confesses that she fucked up. And I was like, whoa, what am I watching? She's confessing that she's a failure, that she fucked up, and she's crying, and I'm like, this is endearing. I
gotta say this though. Apart from her acting, she got into shape. She looks hot.
She looks good, you know, but
If it's the role, as far as that part
um,
goes.
now there's a lot of problems with the movie. The movie's very woke, but it's one of those what I call soft woke, where
Yeah.
it has a lot of soft like woke things in the movie, but it doesn't actually preach it to you. It just sort of
Yeah.
like presents it and hopes you don't notice, sort of thing.
Y-
So what and I probably we wouldn't have noticed because it's 2023 and it's as like common all over the place. The whole hyper diversity. Everywhere you go, it's like perfectly diverse. There's at least one Asian, one black person, one
Mm,
The only
Hispanic
white person
person.
is Carol.
yeah,
Like,
I was thinking about this. I was talking to somebody about the whole MCU thing. How they could probably fix the MCU, other than getting rid of the woke system, is that quit trying to connect TV shows to the movies. Let the
That's
TV
what.
shows, go back to what they
No,
normally. No,
because
like
then you get rid of the whole. Then you lose like the whole "it's all connected" feel that everybody got with Agents of Shield or Daredevil.
it doesn't need to be connected. Daredevil was fine without it. Now Daredevil is going to be tainted because of this, because you have to connect to to these movies, to Echo and all that stuff.
well, let me finish my statement. So,
Is it going to be short? I don't want to listen anymore about Carol Danvers.
no, the
Jeez.
diversity quota was really like, everywhere you went, there's at least one black one. But the thing is it wasn't just like showing like a picture in the city or something. When you went to the Cree homeworld, every scene of Cree in groups had at least one black Cree, one Asian Cree, one Hispanic Cree, in addition to the blue skin Cree, because unlike unlike Earth, which doesn't have blue skin people, Cree actually have Cree and a perfect diversity of humans, which of course are supposed to also be Cree, but we don't call them that. And it's really annoying. And I hate seeing this all over the place. But then one thing that stood out to me was, holy crap, not only is this movie doing that, but the number of white people in the movie. And I'm not talking about just the main characters. Like you pointed out, Brie Larson is the only white, like, even like a supporting cast um, in the movie. Even the extras, there are almost no white people. It is astonishing. I didn't count obviously, so this is a number kind of pulled out of my ass, but I would estimate as little as 10% of the people that you just see in the film, like even in the background shots, are white. There's almost no white people. There's only two white characters that I can think of that even utter lines. Brie Larson, and then there's this character I just call Mr. Man Bun. He's one of the henchmen of the villain, and he looks like an idiot Gen Z man bun boy, and he's super cringe, and I'm like, ugh. And he has like one or two lines in the movie, and that's it. And I'm like, this
All right.
movie is crazy, like the diversity scale thing. And it's not of course not truly diverse because there's hardly any, it's not they're not shooting for that.
So,
What they're trying to do is be anti-white. Also, there's not a single male character outside of Nick Fury that does anything competent, which
so
means
I wanna.
there's no white men that do anything competent. Nick Fury only does stuff because he's Nick Fury, so they give him a couple things, shoots an alien here or there or something, but he really almost has no part in the movie. But yet they find a way to, of course, make the three Marvels stand out as bad, which the movie's called the Marvels, fair enough. But then they find a way to bring in what's her nuts, the hated girl from Thor, the ethnic lesbian Valkyrie girl that everyone
We don't
hates.
call her Valkyrie. She's not Valkyrie.
Well, that's right. She's now the emperor or the head of all of Asgard. She's the all father woman. I don't even know what you call her. Stupid. They put her in the
She's the leader
film.
of the Asgardians.
Yeah. And so it's just these things. Here's the thing: the movie doesn't ever preach to you like, oh, you need to think this way. I feel like they're getting savvier in their presentations because, like, if you go back to the early days, like the comic skate era when the comic books were all being super woke, they were really preachy, like they lectured you. This movie never lectures you. It just
So the
says,
reason,
yeah, we're just
yeah,
not going to have white people. And
well,
th-
there were people in there. It's just that they were the Skrulls and the Kree warriors.
Well,
They had all the
and
makeup on.
the, I don't know. I can't tell the
I'm looking at the
scrolls.
cast, Emperor Gerard or whatever, Kree Soldier, and there's a few other ones. Yeah, well, 3 or 4
But I'm
people are
telling you,
white.
when you see shots of
Yeah.
there's many shots because they show like the Kree homeworld. There's like crowds, and you look at it and go, okay, there's one. You can literally count on like one hand how many white. It, which I don't care because they should. To me, I think they should just all have blue skin. That just solves that problem. They should just look like aliens to me. But it's that sly like, hey, we're not gonna say anything. We're just gonna present it this way. We're just not gonna have men in the film do anything. We're just gonna have women take care of everything. We're not preaching because hey, that could happen. You know, given enough time, chimpanzees could write Shakespeare if they just randomly typed on a typewriter for all eternity. One day they would randomly. So I guess that could happen, but it's just annoying because the film I think could have been somewhat good. I mean, like I said, I actually enjoyed parts of it. I did not hate it. It's not my least favorite Marvel film. I don't think it should be celebrated or praised. It's not even the worst of Phase 5 or whatever phase we're in. I liked it better than Shang-Chi. Wow, that was so I just lose everyone on that one.
No, I was just doing some math in my head. I think, yeah, it's better than Shang-Chi. It's better than Captain Marvel. And I think I would also say it's better than Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
You had me until the
So
end.
So it's not even in my bottom 3
Wow.
of
Yeah.
Marvel.
Someone needs to watch Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness again.
Nope. Multiverse, dude, let me tell you, if my sister actually streamed, she would have words. She would throw hands at you. She hated that movie. America Chavez, my sister thinks the worst of America Chavez. Because all she is a human MacGuffin in Multiverse of Madness. She does nothing of consequence.
That's
Oh,
fine.
wow.
That's fine because the movie's called Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. It's
So,
not called America Chavez. So it's
did you
totally
hear
fine that
about
she's a
this?
MacGuffin.
But even Doctor Strange, like, he's got a few cool scenes, but what's the best part of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness? You know what it is? It's when the Illuminati show up. That don't include Doctor Strange.
That was my
Because
least
everybody's
favorite
like,
part.
oh, are you kidding? That was
What?
my favorite. John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic and seeing
Yeah.
Black Bolt again? Like,
The, he
Yeah,
was,
Professor
but
X?
they made him a
he was done
moron.
dirty.
He wasn't
It was
Mr.
done dirty.
Fantastic. He was an idiot. So
He was written horribly.
yeah, like
Uh,
he wasn't a good representation. Not that his
but
acting was bad, but
I still say that he should still get another shot actually when they do a Fantastic Four movie.
over
But
Pedro Pascal for sure. He's not my ideal
but
Mr.
well,
Fantastic.
Pedro Pascal was actually a rumor. It was never been confirmed. They were in
That's
talks.
true,
Oh,
but
yeah, of
it
course.
hasn't
That's
been
a rumor.
it hasn't been
Everybody else
refuted
thought.
either. So
No.
it still
Well,
could
neither of
be.
the other ones. Not the other ones were refuted either.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
it's irrelevant to the point that he's better choice than Pedro Pascal.
That's like me saying that Ryan Reynolds was also in talk for being in there too as well.
He would be a better choice than Ryan Reynolds too. He would also be a better choice than Bill Cosby. I'm not saying who was chosen. I'm saying he's a better choice than.
So want to get back to the whole Miss Marvel thing. Even apparently the director snubbed her casting crew or for the screening. She chose to have her go to a birthday party, then attend the screening. Because apparently they had like I guess when the strike ended that night, they were able to go there around midnight and go see a screening of the movie, but she decided to snub that instead, have her birthday party instead. And then she complains the next day. It's like, how they snubbed me and all that stuff. It's just like it's she was a pissed because the night before they had in Las Vegas. The night before they had their own screening on November 8th, and she was pissed because Marvel staffers were grumbling, saying how bad the movie was. So that's why she left.
I was all ready to come here and talk about things that I liked, and I'll be damned. We end up spending like 15 minutes talking about.
Well, who the hell brought up the Marvels?
Was it me?
I was giving it some credit. I was trying to be fair because you're not gonna hear outside of this channel here. You're not gonna hear fair talk. You're gonna hear people
Oh yeah.
who insist that it's dumb. I've never seen the movie, but I know it's the worst thing ever because I read some tweets or saw some YouTube videos of other black pills. Or you're gonna see the super shills that I'm seeing all over the social media who are like, only people who dislike the Marvels are the misogynist. You know what? It's like you just either side, and I think very few of either side has actually watched the film. And I'm not saying it's a good film. I'll be happy if
The
I never
records.
see it again, but I would be lying if I say that it didn't entertain me in points and that I was surprised that
Yeah.
I was like, as bad as it is, things can be bad and still have good qualities to them. Like you can fail in certain
Yeah.
areas and then still be good in others. And I want to give credit where credit's due. I'm not trying to convince anyone to go like the movie. Hell,
No.
I'm not
So
even
I
trying to
wanna.
convince you to go try it. Like if you do see it, wait till it's on streaming for free. Save yourself some money just to satisfy your morbid curiosity. But I think
All right.
I like to give a fair shot. Sorry, Vinkman, I know you're chomping at the bit. Go ahead.
You guys been talking the whole entire time. I'm trying to get a word in.
Well, you can
uh,
talk.
so I was looking up on Twitter. I've been seeing people seeing as far as Blue Beetle. People were complaining like it was like, oh, all these people are saying they like Blue Beetle. Now they're seeing it on the Max, but where were they at the theaters? It's gonna be the same thing with Marvels. We're like, because I'm one of those persons. I don't care to see it in the theater. I have Disney Plus. I'll watch it on Disney Plus when it hits that.
Well, I
You
feel
know,
like that's a lot of people too, because movie
yeah.
tickets can be expensive. I only look. I'll be real. The only reason I went to go see it was A, I had a date who wanted to see it, and B, I have a membership at my theater that gives me like a free ticket each month, and I had like 3 or 4 of them saved up. So I
Ooh.
I paid for it, but I didn't pay for it.
Did you
Mm-hmm.
see? So did you guys see the new Aquaman trailer?
Mm-mm.
Uh, I don't know about a new one. I saw one that was like a month ago or something.
I just saw one that was released either this week or whatever, but it shows it shows the whole thing of Arthur and stuff, and not one mention or shown clip of Amber Heard.
See, the
And
the trailer I saw had like a
she
brief glimpse of her. I don't know if
she wasn't even in
that's
this at
from the
all.
film. Oh, well, that must be a new trailer
It
then.
makes me wonder, like, is she even in the film,
I
Hopefully,
kind of
or because
she's in the film.
or is this like bait and switch? She's gonna be in the film. You're just not gonna see in the trailer.
Hopefully, she's in the film, and they're for marketing purposes, just keeping her out of the limelight.
That's what I think because
Because
honestly,
if you cut the film, this is a problem. Look, I understand Amber Heard is not liked by a lot of people,
yeah,
and it's
she's
going
a
to make
major
people
character.
not want to see the movie or whatever. But you know what? The worst thing to do for the movie is to sabotage the movie for the people who are legitimately just like, you know what? I don't give a shit about Amber Heard or anything. I just want to see a good movie. And they're like, well, she said some things we don't like, so we took her out of the movie. And now the story doesn't make as much sense because we chopped it all up.
Yep,
But
yeah.
you know what? It's better for everyone. I'm like, no, it's not better. If people can't see a movie because someone did something distasteful, number one, that's their privilege and their right to do it. I support. If you don't want to go see it, don't go see it. I wrestle. Believe me, I wrestle seeing the Guardians movies because I think James Gunn is kind of a despicable kind of person. But on the same token, he's extremely talented, and so I'm like,
I mean, imagine if we went back and started cutting up movies because somebody did something. Hugh Grant cheating on his girlfriend with a hooker,
hmm
being caught.
Even McGregor leaving his wife and daughter for Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
yeah, and
Yeah,
look what the opposite thing happens. Like right, like look at how the Pirates of the Caribbean movies suffer. Didn't they make one without Johnny Depp?
they
No,
did.
no, they did not. They all
I
have
thought they
Johnny
made the
Depp.
fifth one.
All. Mm-mm.
They were gonna
No,
make one
okay.
with the female
They were
Robbie,
gonna
wasn't it?
they were gonna make one with either Margot Robbie or Karen Gillan, but they never even started. They haven't started on that yet.
Okay, so I'm
I,
confusing
I
that,
don't know
but
if I don't know if
they
they will
did,
because Disney they for sure want to get somebody said they want to get Johnny back, but he won't go back to Disney.
and good for him. And they did for sure cut up the Harry Potter that spin-off
Yes,
franchise, and
totally
they
ruined the Harry
recast his
Potter
character. Yeah, like
and it drove the Fantastic Beasts franchise into the dirt.
yep. And so look, just unless you do something like unless you're thrown into jail or something, like you murdered
Jonathan
someone.
Majors.
But when
yeah,
there's just a controversy, we just need to butt our noses out of this. We don't know the whole story, as evident by the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Things happened. We got some bits. you can pick and choose who you like and who you don't like, but for the purposes of making movies, I would have not been interested in seeing Aquaman if they're like, nope, we're just gonna cut out her parts, and I'm like, so and then do what? Like, you just
I'm just
can't
gonna
do
go
that.
see. I'm just gonna go see
Yeah.
Godzilla -1. That's what I'm gonna do.
Isn't
That
the
does
new
look pretty
show's on
good.
Apple Plus, isn't it? So,
It's already got a perfect score on
so
Rotten Tomatoes.
yeah, the
Oh,
Apple TV already released 2 episodes, I believe, of Kurt
No,
Russell run.
no. That's different. So that is Monarch Legacy of Monsters. That's set in like the MonsterVerse
Yeah.
movie franchise. The Godzilla -1 is not connected to that. That Godzilla -1 is Japanese
Well,
made.
well,
It's
my point is that you're still getting Godzilla content. It's Kurt
well,
Russell.
Monarch. I've seen the first 2 episodes. There's not a whole lot of Godzilla so far. It is good. I saw the first 2 episodes. I think a
Two,
new one comes out tomorrow.
2 episodes every week, I think, right?
I think it's one. They started with 2, but then I think it's like 1 a week.
Because Amazon was doing that with
so
Bosch
hold on.
Legacy.
Tell me
They
about
tried.
this. I don't know anything about the show. Tell me about the show.
Okay, so Monarch Legacy of Monsters. Oh, goody. Okay, so I get to talk about this. All right, so it is a show set in the Godzilla MonsterVerse. And so it involves these 2 siblings who they find out their dad was working for Monarch, which is kind of like the shield of this world, where like it's this organization, they know all about the Godzillas and the
Is this the,
Titans and all the different monsters. And so they're trying to unravel these secrets.
are these some Mothra
And
girls?
no, you don't see Mothra.
Okay.
At least not yet. But so what they do is they kind of do the whole Arrow storytelling, where like half the story is in the past and then the other half of the story is in the present. And so Kurt Russell plays this American, I think he's a army colonel who's like
Yeah.
he used to do security for Monarch, like he used to like he was like the guy that would like protect the scientists. And so in the present day, he's played by old Kurt Russell, but then when it goes back to the 1950s, this character is
Wyatt
played by
Russell.
his son Wyatt
Son.
Russell.
Yeah.
So the father and son are playing the same role, which is kind of cool. And so yeah, it's really cool. It kind of they dive into some mysteries like where the different monsters come from and what Monarch has been doing since the 50s. And yeah, it's only got 2 episodes so far. I think it's like an 8 or a 10 episode
Yeah.
season.
The first 2 episodes dropped on the 17th.
Yeah.
The next one is, or actually, the third one's going to be on 22nd.
Wednesday, tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just renewed my Apple TV subscription for this show.
So I
And
have
the
Apple
effects,
TV, and I did not even know about this. So
yeah,
Really?
this
yeah,
is probably, besides Ted Lasso, this is the show that I've been most excited to see.
You got to surround yourself with nerds. I hang out with this guy,
I
and I
need to.
also hang out with Pixel.
Did he just tell me I need to surround myself with nerds?
I think
Yes.
that's what it sounded like.
There's
yeah.
nerds, and then there's like nerds.
So it's really so it's 2 episodes in, and I've really been liking it. I like the whole MonsterVerse thing, even though the films and the tones of the films are all over the place. Like the first one, I think it was like Gareth Edwards did in 2014, the one with Quicksilver. That one was like really serious. And then they did Kong Skull Island, which was like a different kind of serious, had some more like humor in it. And then they had Godzilla vs. Kong, which was just madness. King of the Monsters is still probably my favorite one, though.
So this is based off the Matt Fraction.
Yeah, Matt Fraction. No, he's the producer.
Yeah.
And you know who one of the staff writers is? I was shocked. I was shook.
Chris Black.
No, I literally paused the screen to make sure I was reading the name correctly. Mariko Tamaki is one of the staff writers.
Well, yeah, it's when the 2 twin daughters are gonna sit down eating cupcakes, right?
No, I haven't seen anything like with food in this show.
So my question was, if you remember in the original stuff, the original Godzilla stuff, there's the 2 girls who had a psychic connection with Mothra.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering, are these the 2 girls? Because they're continuing their dad's.
No, it's a boy and a girl. It's not 2 girls.
Oh, okay. I thought it was 2 girls. Okay.
It's a boy and a girl.
You said twins. Okay, that's
I'm gonna have
like
to. I'm gonna check this out. Apple Plus has been pretty successful for me. I've been really pleasantly surprised.
The CGI looks really good too.
So far, it's got a 3.5 out of 5. At least through Google.
The one weird spot is, so they have this character back in the past, and he's supposed to be John Goodman's character from Kong Skull Island. They actually have John Goodman in one of the episodes. But then they like go back even before Kong, and so they have a different actor playing him. I don't know if I just haven't seen enough of him. It feels like it's watching a skinny guy try to impersonate John Goodman,
So hold on.
like his
Is this tied
mannerisms.
into the Godzilla verse movies?
Yes.
Started in
This is tied
2014.
to 2014 and Kong Skull Island and Godzilla King of Monsters and Godzilla vs. Kong. It's in the same universe as all those movies.
Oh,
Yes.
bummer. All right.
What?
Well, I'll still
What?
try it because it's about the monarch. It's about the people,
Yeah.
not the monsters so much. So maybe.
Yeah.
My problem with
monsters are
Godzilla,
kind of
I've only seen the
background.
I've
Well,
only seen the first Godzilla movie,
wait,
and I
if you
stopped
ask about
there
the
because I was
monsters,
so disappointed in.
It's not gonna. It honestly, it doesn't have a lot to do with King of the Monsters or Godzilla vs. Kong. If anything, I think it probably makes the most sense if you've only seen just the first Godzilla movie, you'll probably still get a good chunk out of it, because there is a character who has a lot of development related to that movie.
Just
Not so
Godzilla was
much with a
boring.
lot
There
of
was
the
just
other.
no point to it.
What?
Like every
What?
character that they introduced almost had nothing really to actually do in the movie other than just be a character, and either they died or just ended up being kind of pointless. And then Godzilla shows up.
Like,
He has 11 total minutes of screen time in the entire
Yeah,
movie.
I mean,
the shark
God,
only had so many minutes of screen time in Jaws.
Yes, but
you
the
just want to.
characters in Jaws were super fascinating and compelling. Like you loved these characters and you panicked when you thought like, "Oh my god,
So
they're going to
much.
die." Like it was a way different with Godzilla. It was a bunch of superfluous characters that didn't actually mean anything. And I like the
You
actors that they get. I like
have to remember that Jaws.
it
You
doesn't have
said
to let me
Jaws.
finish. Go ahead.
Well, no, because I'll never get the chance to speak.
Yes, you will. I'll
Yeah,
let
I
you
think
speak. Just let me finish a
You've been
sentence.
talking more than I have.
what we need more to have. This Marvel person, go ahead.
No, but
Go ahead.
you
See,
need to say something. Say it, please. I just want to be able to finish my
I'm just gonna
sentences.
say that they said if you didn't have any people in the movie whatsoever, you just had the monsters, it'd be like a 30-minute film.
Godzilla would be
You
11-minute film.
And it would be all CG, and would it be worth watching it because no one wants to watch CG. CG is
I'm
horrendous.
happy watching CG. That's fine.
It depends on the CG. It depends on the quality of the CG. There's some
But-
CG out there that's really, really good.
It was a Godzilla 3 or one from the 80s where it was all with the Japanese kid living in his home, and then he gets involved with it with Godzilla. I was like, the Godzilla movies have never been that like crazy good. I'm sorry. There's people that are super fans of the franchise, but they've never been like huge blockbuster hits. Maybe overseas, but over here, they're kind of But I agree. You should have Godzilla. If you're gonna call Godzilla and you don't show Godzilla, it's not worth watching. This is called Monarch. It has monsters. It shows monsters in here. It shows Godzilla in the trailer, but it's also gonna have people.
But here's the thing: you're not understanding me. I could forgive only showing 11 minutes of Godzilla if the human characters and their story was actually compelling and not just filler to tie up 2 hours of content that doesn't have Godzilla. That's ultimately what the Godzilla movie was. And I like these actors. Ken Watanabe, what's his name that plays
Aaron Taylor
Breaking
Johnson.
Breaking Bad? Oh, I love Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Bryan Cranston.
Bryan Cranston,
Dude, that was an upset. Yeah, because he's only in the movie he's in the movie less than Godzilla, I think.
So I was super stoked
Godzilla's a
going
bad
into
actor. He can't keep up his lines all the time. That's why he doesn't speak.
And so so I just basically noped out after that. But this is a movie about the people.
From what I've seen, the cast of this is a lot better.
Apple's been doing pretty good. I'm currently watching a show on Apple called Hijack with Idris Elba.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's pretty good. It's an intense thriller about hijacking, and I have a little nitpicks about it, but overall it keeps me very entertained. I think it's a decently well done show. Yeah. My favorite absolute show, I've talked about this multiple times. I'm going to use this as another attempt to promote Silo. I think you both should check it out. You both like strong female protagonists. and it's done well. It's not done in the like, she don't need no man. Look at her. Like they don't do that. They write her
It's
as
two
a
shows. Yeah.
woman. Her strength is being a woman, not being a man in a woman's body. you know. So I
Yeah.
really,
Apple doesn't really have that much as far as content worth to pay the price that they want to charge you. I'd
it's
say
only
it's for those two
six ninety
shows. You
nine.
watch them.
It's the cheapest
Yeah,
streaming service.
Watch
it's not,
watch
yeah,
watch
it's
them
not
with your
very
free
expensive.
get a free trial and then stop.
Well, I mean, $6.99 for a month, you can binge any of the shows, and all the shows I've watched so far have been worth just by themselves $6.99. Like
Yeah,
Silo,
Ted Lasso
absolutely worth.
alone was worth it.
Ted Lasso's, I don't like it as much as Zach does, but Ted Lasso was really good, especially the first season.
The first season is still my favorite one. The second one, I like the development of a lot of the characters, but overall, I think season 1 is still the best one.
Yeah. So, all right. Hi everyone that's in the chat. We haven't really acknowledged you, and I apologize for that. We kind of just went off the
You guys
rails.
don't matter at all. I
You
said hi
absolutely
to Miranda
matter.
before.
I know you did, but
You all matter
Maranya,
on this glorious pre-Thanksgiving Monday.
Maharani and Rhaegar. So it's good to see you. I think I saw Tehillim slip in.
Yeah, I thought
Hey,
Tehillim in there.
no consent.
So glad to have you guys with us. We're gonna get into some comic books. Unless anything before we go that though, anything? 'Cause I saw Marvels. Oh, and then I got another thing to plug. I've been recently getting into Demon Slayer,
Nice.
the
How
anime.
far are you?
In season 2,
The Entertainment District?
Entertainment District, yeah.
Nice.
And this show is really growing on me. Like it is neck and neck with My Hero as far as like how much I'm really liking it. I really thought it was going to be a show for a younger audience. I mean,
No.
don't get me wrong, it is a show for a younger audience, but I mean, I thought it was going to be really juvenile. And there is some
I don't
juvenile
know
stuff in
about
it, but
with Red.
overall, it's still really, it's one of those things that like Pixar used to do so well, where they could make a movie for kids, but yet also make it really worthwhile for adults and have like that work on multiple layers type of thing. I think Demon Slayer does the same thing, and really like the characters. It feels so much like a superhero type of story. Obviously, it takes place in um, not
Not
feudal
quite
Japan,
feudal Japan.
like just
It's like
post feudal
industrial
Japan.
era,
Yeah,
like
industrial.
right in the kind of in between feudal and industrial.
Right around the
They
same
have like
time that like the
trains and
movie
stuff.
The Last Samurai, if anyone's seen that movie, The Last Samurai with Tom
Yeah,
Cruise,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
right around
yeah.
that time because there still are some people with
That's a good movie.
swords and stuff. So, but just the way the stories are written, I just it feels like you could transpose this into a comic book story. The main character is is like a young superhero trying to walk in the footsteps of bigger people. I love when they introduce the Hashira, which are like the top dogs, are kind of like the Justice League equivalent, like or the Avengers, take your preference. And the main character is very competent. And when you see him, you're like, oh man, this kid knows what he's doing. Like he's got skills, he overcomes obstacles, and you're like, oh. And then when he comes across like the first Ashira and stuff, you're like, oh, these guys are another league. And it's dawned on me. One thing I really like about it is I'm not a real big sidekick fan. Like I used to hate Robin from Batman and Robin because I was like, I don't want to see a little snotling kid tagging along with Batman. Like, let Batman do his thing. But this is written in the perspective of Robin. Like you're introduced to Robin metaphorically first, and you're seeing his struggles and like trying to live up to being like a Batman, and trying to excel and learn and all this stuff, and then of course facing villains and really, really good stuff. I'm very impressed. I think both of you guys will watch the show.
Yeah, the animation is top notch for sure. The fight scenes are awesome. I will say I probably wouldn't let young kids watch it, just because there are some pretty grotesque, gory fight scenes. But yeah, no, season 2 is a blast though. I love season 2.
Yes, and so I just got through the Fire Guy storyline. That's what really made it like over the
Oh,
top.
nice.
I forget the character's name. All these characters have names are
Yeah,
I can't
I
recall.
always forget that one guy's name. But yeah, because you saw
The
the
war,
movie, right? Like
the
in
war.
between seasons 1 and 2.
Well,
I skipped the movies.
the movie
It's
is
kind
the
of a
first.
bridge.
No, the movie was cut up to be the first part of season 2.
Oh, did they? Oh, okay. I know because before they did that, it was like because most of the time, like all of the anime movies I've seen, they're kind of treated as like filler or they're not essential to canon.
Mm-hmm.
So, but this one, Mugen Train was the first movie I saw where it's like, no, this is an actual continuation of the story, like
Yeah,
picking up from the end of season 1.
yeah. Usually the trailers, the movies I see are just basically summarization of the actual season.
Hmm.
Sometimes,
So
yeah. Sometimes they do it that
I've
way. Sometimes, like My Hero Academia, they just write a completely original story that's not even in the
Yeah,
manga.
yeah.
Um,
One
and then
Piece
some.
does that too.
In this case, I had mixed feelings about it because I was like, you made a movie and then you just made it the show. They chopped it up. However, if you watch the show, you're getting like an extended version of the movie because the whole first episode of the show is not even in the movie. Like
Oh, I
so
didn't
yeah,
know that.
yeah,
Okay.
so only episodes 2 through 7 are the movie. Episode 1 has some like
Ah,
prequel stuff, which is very worthwhile to see. Anyways, that character, I love that character. That whole storyline and his,
yeah.
I don't want to spoil anything, but what happens in that, I was like, amazing, amazing. This is what's missing in modern mainstream superhero comics. Like, it's one thing I geek out about My Hero Academia and say this is what you should do, but it's not just that show. The Japanese in general have figured out this method, this trope, and they just know how to recycle it. And I was talking to my buddy, I'm watching it with him and his kid, and and I was like, they're not really being original. Like we've seen this over and over again, but the Japanese find a way to take something and redo it and always make it feel fresh. You know, the character who's the main character in Demon Slayer, you could really accuse of being a copy of Deku from My Hero Academia. Although I don't know which one actually came first. It could be the other way around. It doesn't help that the voice actor sounds exactly the same. It might be. I was told that it wasn't, but um, they. Anyways, I don't want to go off on forever. I just wanted to mention I was watching because I watched it tonight and I was like, oh, I love this. The
yeah,
show is so good.
I was reading some of the manga and I was like, there's a huge change that they did for the anime that I'm glad they didn't do those for the manga. I'm not gonna say what it is, but I was just like, wow, that could have really ruined the whole entire show.
Oh wow. So the manga's a little bit different.
A little bit different, yeah.
Oh, maybe it might be worth reading the manga. I'm really into this show. Like it just keeps getting better. Like I'm like you keep introducing characters and I'm super interested in.
Yeah,
So
I had to take a break from the manga because I was going way past the show, and then I'm like, I don't want to watch anymore because it's like when I watch the show, it's like, well, I already know what's gonna happen. So I'm like, well, because one thing has
Oh,
changed. I'm kind of curious. Like, should I keep reading it, or am I gonna spoil it for myself?
incidentally, Tahilum answered our conundrum. He says the fire guy's name is Rengoku.
Rengoku, yes. Thank you.
Stimpy Goku, yes,
I
that's
love.
Geiger.
I was so annoyed when they first introduced his character. I was like, this guy. I was like, I don't like this guy. And then when they were doing a story and they had like the characters were having to tag along with Rengoku, I was like, oh, please no. Oh, God. But then they developed this character and he turns out
Yeah,
to be awesome. I was like, dude, I want to watch a whole show
dude,
about this guy.
the
Like, do a
whole
spin-off
story,
show.
the whole I love the whole story, whole anime, how every little thing connects together.
Yes. Yeah. Oh man,
So
his
there's
whole
not like this
backstory
one.
with his father and his
Yes,
brother, I was like, this is like touching, man. I'm like, you're pulling my heartstrings.
the fire
Um,
breathing technique and all that
the
stuff.
fire. Oh, so much. We could just do a whole show on on Demon Slayer. Um,
See, it was a year ago. Zach and I were on like Extreme Movie Show, and he was like, "Oh, season 2 or season 3, Demon Slayer's coming out. I'm gonna watch that." I'm like, "What the hell are you watching?" Because we're doing a top 5, like things coming out in the summer. We're gonna watch our list, and he's
And
like, he randomly loves Demon Slayer, and I'm like, "What the hell is Demon Slayer? Why is this on the list?" It's
I should have talked about One Piece
no,
you should have.
because One
Um,
Piece does the same thing. It introduces a character you think is gonna be dumb, and then they do a whole backstory to it, and you're like, oh my god, I love this character now.
Like the kid that has the
one.
the warthog hog. He take
Oh
he,
yeah, the boarhead guy.
forehead.
Oh,
The
I
forehead.
love that
He
character.
when he takes it off, it's like holy crap. It's
Yeah. Zenitsu is still my favorite character in Demon Slayer, though. I love
I
Zenitsu.
love and hate Zenitsu.
like
There's sometimes
there's
I'm
this
like, shut this guy up. He just cries incessantly. And then there's other times when I'm like, oh, dude, this guy's badass. I love this guy. So I'm waiting to see where this goes. But
when he meets his sister. That's the other thing. You see that part.
So if
How
you're
far
like
you are in
me,
anime.
I'm in season 2. If you are like me and gave this a pass because you looked at it and were like, this looks kind of silly or goofy, I understand. Try to get through like 4 or 5 episodes of the show and see if it doesn't grab you, because it's astonishingly good. And this is also, I
Some of the best
believe,
animation out there too.
it's really good animation. It really is. Because they did that first part of season 2 is the movie, and I remember watching it going, man, this is really well done. But it wasn't so much better well done. I was like, man, the actual TV episodes that weren't made for a movie are like 80 to 90% as good as the Mugen Train stuff. So that's usually that's normally not the case. Like even like My Hero Academia, the movie stuff is way better animated than the show. They usually put way more quality. But yeah, this is a good. Last I checked, it's been probably a year or two, but so that this could be outdated. Things have changed, but this was the #1 selling comic / manga, whatever you want to throw that category into, in the world, and it was like
The
not even close.
movie when Mugen Train came out, it beat what was the big Studio Ghibli movie? It might have been, I don't remember if it was Howl's Moving Castle or one of those.
Was
but
it was it Your Name?
No, that's not a Ghibli movie. But it beat like the top grossing Studio Ghibli film in Japan when it came out, because it was like it was like in COVID times too. I think it was like in 2020, might have been 2021. But yeah, it was like everyone was blown away. I guess outside of Japan. Japan was all like, yeah, we're gonna go see it. America was kind of like, whoa, what?
There's a
Really?
reason. There's a reason why this is the best-selling comic in the world. Like
Well, I don't know.
I kind of no, it is like it sells millions, like millions of copies. The manga
One
does.
Piece. The One Piece manga is the best-selling one because that one's beat like even Batman.
Oh no, you're talking about as an entire work. One Piece has been like 25 years. I'm talking like every single issue sells millions.
Okay.
It's like not even close. And again, this information was like a year or two ago when I was looking into like, oh, how's the comic book industry doing? And we're like the comparison, and it was like the #1 selling thing was like, oh, and I had no interest in Demon Slayer back then. I was like, oh, Demon Slayer, it's even more than My Hero Academia. Wow, I'm surprised. Like, and now that I watch it, I go, oh, I kind of understand why. This is like it's good. It's deserving. It may not be anyone's particular favorite. You may not see it and go, well, yeah, it's my favorite. Like, but you at least recognize this is deserving. It's quality.
When Zach first talked about it, I rolled my eyes and I was like, "This looks horrendous."
Yeah.
So then, after I finished watching the newest season of My Hero Academia, which is so freaking awesome, I was like, I have nothing else to do. I'm like, okay, I'm caught up on this. Rookie's on hiatus, they're done. It's like, what am I gonna watch? I'm like, in Netflix, like, let's go down here. It's got the dub, so I don't have to worry about trying to figure what it says in Japanese. But so I started watching. I was like, after 2 episodes in, I'm like, wow, he sure cries a lot like Deku. I was like, but I was like, once I got in, like, yeah, I started.
That's only for like the first episode, though.
Jack can attest to this.
He gets his whole family gets slaughtered.
That's true.
Like he has a reason to cry.
Yeah.
Zach can attest to this. I was messaging him like, dude, let's watch the 3rd episode. It's so great, and it's like, it's just like every episode I kept watching. It was just a fun show.
Yeah, the first 2 episodes are really dark. If anyone's gonna try this show, just be prepared. It starts off dark,
very dark,
but then it leaves that.
It's still dark. you know,
It
like
still is, but they've added levity to it. Like
When you
when
get
It's
to-
not as
Zenitsu
dark as
joins and
seeing your whole family slaughtered and seeing the bodies and the blood and like
when
it's
you
a
go into the
traumatic. It's
woods.
like Saving Private Ryan of
Well,
animation.
yeah, but going into
it's like the
going in,
Red Wedding.
when they went to the woods with the spider demons, that was
That
pretty
was
dark.
creepy. That was pretty creepy too. I'm not gonna lie. The spider demons was.
I'm just talking about darkness in tone. Like it's just like you're like,
Oh yeah,
ooh,
no,
is this gonna be
yeah.
fun, or am I gonna be watching kids get their parents slayed? You know,
Like I said, I don't. Zach hates snakes. I hate spiders. I'm waiting for like something gross, like spiders coming out of people. Like I don't want to see any of that crap. Like oh, the
Speaking of
spider demons
crap,
were sick enough process.
speaking of crap, we got a comic book to
Radioactive
talk
crap.
about. Did either
Wait,
of you
crap?
guys think this was crap?
No.
No, I
Did you?
No, I was just saying because it's radioactive, so he craps radioactive radiation.
I was asking Ash. Did Ash think this is crap?
Ah,
I don't know. Did you, RDV?
no,
All right, that makes three of us.
I liked it.
We're all in alignment.
Watch
love-
Geeky Puppet
Gosh,
Show Thursday nights.
Okay.
I love this book.
Praise about this.
You terrified me there for a second.
Yeah,
Uh,
unlike the NCU, we are not a shared universe. We do not require you to watch the Geeky Puppet Show to understand what
That's
happens.
true.
But if you do, you'll learn that I love Gary Frank, and that's why I love this cover.
We are a standalone spinoff.
Yes, we do
at the
endorse the
skulls,
Geeky
man.
Puppet Show and recommend you try
This
it
is
out.
like this is like watching Terminator, you know, two with all the skulls everywhere.
But you will not have to.
The first Terminator. Yeah, that's awesome. I love it.
So Geiger, we've talked about this on the show a bunch before the previous stuff. I'm a big fan. I'm gonna subscribe to all of the Unnamed War stuff, including
Yeah.
we're gonna talk about a book at the end of it. I'm gonna mention that I didn't even know was coming, that I'm excited for. But you can't go wrong. This is Gary Frank, who's one of the best in the business, and it's
And Jeff Johns.
Jeff Johns,
one of
who's
the other best in the business.
Jeff Johns is. It might be fair to say that Jeff Johns is a living legend in the comic book
I think
industry.
so. I
Like-
would put him. I would almost call him the Steven Spielberg of modern comics.
I like him on JSA, and I like him on this.
I would
Oh, dude,
call
there's
him.
so
I
much
would.
more to
I
his
would
library.
almost accredit him, and I have, as being DC's closest equivalent to Stanley when it comes to just vision of the world and understanding and how to bring it to life. He just did
feel
that for
that's fair.
DC to me.
I feel like that's fair.
Yeah. So this obviously has nothing to do with DC Comics because Jeff Johns
It's gone.
he walked away. Not he didn't walk away completely. He walked away from being an employee. He still does freelance work for DC occasionally, writes some stuff, but he's no longer just a DC guy. And he's got his own company called Ghost Machine, which actually specializes in doing TV shows and movies. But he's publishing he's publishing his own comics through that
Is it
same.
Mad Ghost? Mad Ghost Machine?
You're correct.
See,
You're
I
correct.
heard
I'm looking
differently
at
that once they're all done with their stuff over there, they're not doing any more DC whatsoever. None of them are freelance. Nothing.
What are you talking about?
For Ghost Machine.
Mad Ghost Machine. So Jeff Johns and all the creatives, they all still have works that are going on at DC right now. But then as soon as those projects Jeff Johns does, Tomasi does, maybe one or two others.
Yeah.
But then as soon as those projects wrap up, they're going to be exclusively Mad Ghosts.
Yes.
Exclusively. I'm
Only
willing to
through
put
Mad
money.
Ghost Publishing.
I am willing to bet money that we're going to see Brian Hitch do more Marvel and DC stuff.
I don't know. Is he one of the names?
Yeah, he's doing Redcoat.
Well, I know he's doing that, but I'm trying to remember if he's one. There was like a certain number of creatives that they revealed were going to be like the founders or whatever of Mad Ghost. I don't remember if Hitch was one of them. He might have been.
You'll have to look up that information and get it to me because I'd be curious to know more about whatever it is that you heard. But going back to what I was talking about, Jeff Johns being a living legend, I think he's not going to necessarily be everyone's favorite. He's not even my favorite, but he's always solid. And I actually like the unnamed stuff. Typically more, it's tough to say. When Jeff Johns was on fire during Rebirth, he was on fire. Some of the stuff he does now, it's always still good, but it doesn't make me just go, man, I got to get his Shazam series or whatever he's done recently. Anyways, I'm not here to nag about him. I really do love his work. He's doing this whole shared universe thing, and you were correct. You pointed out Mad Ghost is the correct. Ghost Machine is what I saw labeled. That's another book. It had Ghost in it, so I confused the two. I apologize.
Ah,
So, um, yeah, this is a prequel story of Geiger. It's a 2-issue story, which is probably good because Gary Frank is so slow. It's probably about the number of issues he can draw a year. So, um, uh, but my point is you're getting amazing quality here. You're getting two. It's so rare in the industry today that you get a top-notch artist and a top-notch writer both in the same book. It's rare to get one in a book, but it's extremely rare to get both. And that's what we're getting here. Would any of you like to give a synopsis of the book? I'll take that as a no.
If you've seen Geiger, it's a prequel.
kind of.
It is,
It's
but that's
like
not a
half.
synopsis.
It's like
Synopsis,
half
like,
prequel, half current. Yeah, whatever.
yeah. Well, I didn't really get the current stuff. I mean, he's got. It's more of a. It's a prequel with a prequel to inside the prequel. If it's basically it's him right after the bomb space have gone off and him remembering it. So it's shortly after. It's before the events of Geiger, the first series, and you have the guys here basically who are this guy in the hazmat suit is being blackmailed by these what's left of the U.S. military, basically to find and track this abomination, this Geiger thing, because it's killed a couple of his men. And one guy doesn't like him because the guy in the hazmat suit is a Russian doctor, and they believe that the Russians are the blame for everything that's going on. But also the whole this other part of the story is that the guy Geiger itself is remembering his life before the bombs drop. Anything else?
Sounds about right.
Yes, that's a premise. So I'll go over the synopsis real quick here, just to give everyone who has read it a chance to remember, and those who haven't read it like to be spoiled. You're correct.
Yes,
It is.
this is a spoiler
It starts
stream.
off. It starts off with this old man in a hazmat suit after the bombs have dropped, and they're investigating the glowing man. These two soldiers kind of have him by gunpoint. They're very prejudiced towards him. They call him Molotov because they believe that the Russians dropped the bombs. Of course, they don't actually know. You can tell that they don't actually know, but that's the way like war is. They just live in this wasteland now. But this guy can help him. It turns out that the guy is like an immigrant, presumably from Russian, but they never say. But he came here before the war because he was trying to escape whatever country he was in. And so he's kind of dealing with that. We get to see Geiger, the glowing man. He's having trouble controlling his powers, which we know is from the original story that he didn't originally know how. That's why he kept these like those rods. They're like cooling rods.
Yeah, the nuclear cooling rods or whatever.
Yeah. And so we get some backstory on these characters, and there's a lot of character development here. We get to go before the bombs, where we get to see the character who is Geiger. I believe his name is Geiger, is like his last name. It's kind
It's
of
like Tariq Geiger or something.
yeah,
He's
Tariq.
He's Indian, I think. I'm not remember what his
Indian.
nationality.
I assumed he was Middle Eastern.
Yeah,
Middle Eastern. Yeah.
And so we got this family at this barbecue. It looks like 4th of July, and they're like super patriotic. And they're like, oh, hey, they're kind of like saying the off-color kind of jokes, not quite like
His neighbor's
bigoted, but they're like, oh, like you should enjoy the heat. Isn't that where you're from? From the desert. And they're just like being the quiet, tolerant liberals, which I think is kind of funny. But that's just like how it's being written. I couldn't help but notice it. They discover his bomb shelter that he explains that his dad was always a be prepared kind of guy, and and they're like kind of making fun of him, like, oh, hey, and so then we see some jets flying by. I'm like, oh, what's going on? And we don't know. We cut over back to the present day, I guess, or the future was the 6 months after the bombs.
Yeah.
And these guys are searching. Apparently, they're holding Geiger responsible for the death of, I believe, one of them's sister, if I remember right.
The guy's brother.
The brother. And so
The brother's
they're
on a
wanting
to get to him. Yeah.
they're wanting revenge. The guy in the suit is some sort of like scientist apparently,
Junkyard
and
Joe.
Molotov.
he's trying to help him because he is trying. I think he's trying to find his sister, or maybe
Yeah,
it's his
his
wife.
sister is a doctor in Las Vegas, and the way you get there is by helping these guys out.
Oh, it's his wife. He's trying to find his wife,
Or
Leia.
his wife. He's separated.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
and so he's
they
just
share in the suit.
cooperating because they promise they'll help him. And we get a cartoon from Junkyard Joe, which I kind of find adorable. I kind of almost wish there was a Junkyard Joe comic strip. I might actually, maybe I write to Jeff Johns and be like, you know what? Every issue you should just put a, like a normal, like a comic strip, 3-panel strip of Junkyard Joe, because I just find them endearing. But
I want a Junkyard Joe stuffed toy.
yeah, that'd be cool
That
too.
would be cool.
That'd be cool too. But wouldn't it be neat? Like maybe like on the credits page, you just had like a little strip of just Junkyard Joe and just.
Yeah,
I
treat
miss
'em
comic book
like,
strips.
Like have you played the Fallout games? Just
Mhm.
treat Junkyard Joe like you treat the little Pit Boy.
And I'm
And
not
then
talking about
at
the
the end of-
actual. I'm not talking about the actual Junkyard Joe. I'm talking about like the comic book, the comic strip Junkyard Joe, the cartoony
I
one.
know.
Yeah,
okay.
and then
I know. That's what I mean. Yeah.
And then after it's all done, collect those onto one book and sell it to us again.
There we go. I would buy it. Dude, if he does it, I will buy it again. So we get to see his family, his 2 kids, and he's like reading a bedtime story, and one of the kids is getting a little too old for it, so he's like, "Oh man, can I go play video games?" And he has a really cool line I like. He says he's like, "A good book makes you." So he says, a good game is fun. A good book makes you think about what ideas mean." And that really stood out to me because it's kind of how I think. Like, I think people discredit books and art in general oftentimes because they see it only as entertainment, which it is entertainment, and there's nothing wrong if you seek it out as entertainment, but they can be so much more. He's obviously sick. He's going through like chemotherapy. He's trying to like be strong for his kids, but clearly kids are smarter than we give them credit for. And Jeff Johns is a really adept writer, and he writes these kids as they understand. As soon as the wife is like, "You have treatment early," the kids are immediately like, "It's okay, Daddy. Yeah, you need to get better." And then we see the mom kind of getting choked up, and he just, he's smiling, keeping it together, and it's this really good, subtle family moments that they don't stay too long. They don't outsay their welcome. He's not trying to like browbeat you with this stuff. It's the perfect tone. It helps build the character, it helps you care about who this guy is. And then while this is all happening, we get to the part where the war starts, and all of a sudden bombs are dropping, and he says, "Get the kids." We cut back to the present, and these guys are. It's okay. It's not quite the present. This is the part where Geiger had killed the guy's brother, Salt. And so we get this. These guys are like trying to kill Geiger, and of course he's just now trying to defend himself, and he ends up killing this guy. But now we know why the motives of the other guy. And this is just, to me, what stood out was just like the hellish nature of war, and just like bad things just happen. Like people are forced to do bad things. They're just terrible. And of course, other people, depending on what side you're on, you're going to see it. And you're kind of witnessing it even today in the real world. Not to go digress too much, but just like with the whole Palestine-Israel thing, you're seeing how people are on both sides of it and like getting really emotional and upset. And it's like there's bigger parts to the story, and everyone is kind of the hero in their own eyes. But to continue on,
I like this though. I like this, the angle where he sees the guy, kills the guy, and then he looks up, he sees Junkyard Joe, remembers like the whole how it's set up, the flashbacks.
Yes, so he pauses because he sees the Junkyard Joe, sees the flashback. He's remembering his kid. Then we cut back to the future. We see the can of soup that his daughter got for him because she's like, "Oh, this always makes me feel better. Maybe it'll make you feel better." And then he's taking a look out at the blast doors of the shelter that he built, and he's kind of recalling like what happened on the days that the bomb dropped. When the bombs dropped, his neighbors came. How do I? They basically were like, "No, we're taking this shelter," and they got guns. And I'm not going to blame Jeff Johns on this. I'm going to blame Gary Frank But do these two people here look familiar?
Yeah,
People on the lawn.
I
Yeah.
remember you talking about this when the first issue came out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get off our lawn.
No, this happened during the BLM
Yeah.
riots and the
Yeah.
McClowskis in
Yeah.
Missouri. Yeah, they
Mhm.
look exactly like the McClowskis. So I'm like, come on,
At
right?
least
Like,
they
why?
fleshed them out a little bit more. They weren't just stand-ins for
No, but
like
they
at
did
least they
write him
fleshed
as
them out
like
a
the
little bit.
hyper patriotic, anti,
That
Arabic.
is
Like,
true.
I'm like, come
Is that,
on.
but they are patriotic though. Like, to get off
Yeah,
our
but
lawn.
well, except they're not here. They're taking this guy's bomb shelter. So,
I know.
anyways, just to me, it's like just don't make those connections. I don't think Jeff Johns wrote it this way. I'm sure Gary Frank was like, "Oh, I
Well,
got to write
well,
these two guys. I know what to draw." I'm like, either way.
yeah.
Moving on. Geiger's, he's reminiscing, and he picks up that book that he was reading as kids, and it scorches in his hands, and he's sees because he's looking at the bomb shelter, and he's thinking Tracy,
Kids are
kids,
still
like
there.
that's where they're in. Like he knows he locked them inside, and so he can't ever be with them because you can't open up the shelter because it would expose them to the radiation, etc. So he wants to keep
Well,
safe, but he can't
no,
be with them.
didn't
So it's
they say?
tragic.
Didn't they say early in the book that he was taking experimental treatment in Europe?
Yes. Well, he's no, the wife wanted him to.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but he's like the treatment works. But yeah, he was taking cancer treatments. Um, so he gets shot from behind while he's reminiscing because every time he sees something that's caused him to reminisce, apparently people come up and shoot him. And this is the guys who are trying to hunt him down for killing his brother. But this sets him off because he doesn't have control of his powers. Now they don't know that. And had we not read the original series, we wouldn't know that either. But he's a ticking time bomb essentially, and he tells them like away, like he doesn't want to hurt anyone. And the other guy's like, for my brother, and charges in, and we get this. It's not going as planned, and it's like, yep. And
Every time I see Geiger, I always remember of Dwight Powers or Dwight Powers from Batman Beyond. Same problem.
so he gets wasted, but it's not Geiger's fault. He can't control what he's doing, and you kind of feel
They
for these
deserved it though.
people because these soldiers, they're they're kind of written as white trash. And so the other guy who they don't like because they're kind of bigoted towards the quote unquote Russian, the other guy is like, man, you knew this would happen. And he's getting all pissed. He points his gun at him. Um, to which Geiger ends up saving him. And but then he thinks, oh, he's going to kill me. I can't die. I need to find my wife. I need to make something right in this world. And he's looking over, and boom, everything goes dark. And then he's just like, we hear some noises. He finds a flashlight, turns it on, blinds himself, reorients the flashlight, sees the dead bodies, looks around. He's like, oh, the radioactivity's gone. That's weird. He's strange. And so is the monster. And we just see naked Geiger embracing the door to the bomb shelter, but he's not glowing. And so clearly, this is meant to indicate maybe these two are going to have some sort of relationship or understanding, or he's going to, who knows? There's
Whoa,
one more issue, but that's the end of
relationship.
the story. Not relationship like you sicko, but like, um, I'll let you go first, Venkman. What do you have to comment about this book?
This is where Geiger gets the rod. No.
Oh my goodness.
Honestly, I kind of felt kind of let down by this first issue. Because I mean, like, we kind of had the story back then. So I mean, like, unless this scientist guy adds more to the story, I don't see. I mean, I want more of like an actual Geiger, like what we know now, not prequel. So, but but if you were going into this, never read the original, the one we came up before this, you're gonna love it. It's still a good book. You have phenomenal art. I'm so glad that circle's there and it blocks it. Otherwise, we have Batwing. that
Is it just
photo.
me, or did he say that he liked the book? Zach?
I thought that he
That's
said
what
he
I
liked
thought
the book.
too.
Yeah,
I'm
I
confused
like the
now.
book. Like I said, but for me though, as a Geiger fan, I want to go into back, continue what we had before. I want Geiger Volume 2. This is kind of like a filler right now. So I want to know more about the scientist because he's the only new part, really, to this. I want to know what he's going to add to basically where how it connects to from we first meet Geiger in the first volume.
Okay.
But I said
Did
Gary Frank's art is phenomenal in this, though. That's the thing. I said if you're going into this and never read the original Geiger, I don't know if I would if I tell you to start with this or go read Geiger first, then go read this because to me naturally this could you could read it either way. You could read this and then go read the other Geiger.
I think you could read this first. However, I think there's some scenes that you might not get as much out of because I think there were certain scenes in this book that kind of assumed the audience
Mm-hmm.
knew. You know, not much. I don't think it's like crucial, but I think if I were to go back and I could just tell myself which way, I think I still would read them in the order that I've read them. But you could read this first. Plot wise, you won't be lost. You won't be like, what's going on?
No, like I said, I love Gary Frank's art, and it's and glad that he's out of DC and Marvel. He can actually, his talent's going to be actually used for something.
I'm glad he's on a good book. There's nothing
Yeah,
worse than
that's what
having
I
a
mean.
great artist on a shit book. I just
Ivan
hate that.
Rice.
Ugh.
Yeah.
What about you, Zach? What about anything about this book you want to talk about?
Yes, I'm going to come at this from the opposite direction. I like this book. I don't think that it. I like it. All right. So with the first Geiger book, on top of introducing Geiger, it also gets caught up in introducing the world that Geiger lives in. And I feel like that becomes more of a focus later on in like issues 3 through 5. It has less to do with Geiger and more to do with the world or the kids that he rescues kind of take over the show. I feel like so I like that we're kind of getting this second lap, kind of like bringing us back to the title character and showing us more. Like it kind of fleshes him out more. Like it shows a little bit more of his life before the bombs dropped and shows a little bit more of him interacting with his family. I like that because, like I said, once you get to like the halfway point of the first Geiger series, he kind of drops back and he doesn't become the focal point so much. So I appreciate that we're kind of getting to see a little bit more of him, dive a little bit more into like what makes him tick and everything.
I can concur with that. Were there
I
any
mean,
like specific scenes or things you learned from this book or just got to see that you appreciated especially?
I appreciated the scenes with seeing him as the dad to the kids. I mean, obviously that comes across in the first volume. You know that he's a dad
yeah,
and he gets like all upset about the loss of his kids, but then actually like catching a few scenes where he is being a dad, like you talked about, where he's like reading the book and he's
and
kind of like imparting some wisdom, some knowledge to them. I think that that was a really,
yeah,
really good, important scene. Also, him just making sure that his family gets into the bunker while he like fends off the neighbors.
it's
Just the fatherhood element of it
it's
is
more
endearing.
gut wrenching. His interaction with his
Yeah.
wife. He's got a loving wife. He's got loving kids. They're little, and for those who know what happens to them, it hits you. It hits you harder.
Yep. This book, I mean, and I'm talking about the whole Geiger story, not just this issue, but the whole Geiger storyline together
It's got the
is
Frank
just a
Castle
super
story going here.
tragedy. Just
It's like
if for those of you listening, if you haven't read the original Geiger miniseries 6 issue, just watching him sit outside for was it years go by where he sits outside the shelter and he knows his family's inside and he can't be with them and they can't like and it's just and I won't spoil anything, but what happens like you're just like, "Oh my goodness." And then in this
Yeah, it's like
book, you get to
decades or
like
something.
you get to know them as people. Just makes it even harder because you're like, "Oh, these weren't just like, oh yeah, he had a family and they're in there." Like now you like know like the kids a little better, the wife, and you're just like, "Oh,
Right.
oh
It's
goodness."
like
Like
imagine you had several more issues of Uncle Ben before he dies, rather
right?
than here's Uncle Ben, boom, he's dead. You don't have that big of an emotional
so.
attachment to the
Imagine you're reading
character.
Ultimate Spider-Man,
No, oh, well, yeah, I guess he is around for a little bit longer.
7 issues.
But anyway, yeah, those are my thoughts on Geiger. So I am looking forward to Volume 2 for sure.
Yeah.
Man,
Like I said,
hearing that Gary Franklin did some art on Superman, I want to go read that. Actually, was it Jeff Johns and him doing a Superman story?
yeah, Action Comics.
It was the one with Brainiac, right?
He's done
Uh-huh.
several. He did another story with Jeff Johns that featured the Legion of Superheroes.
My first introduction to Superman is post Crisis, so I haven't made it there yet. So I don't really know. I wasn't reading DC Comics in the 2000s.
Hmm. Well, it's
My
all
first
post Crisis.
My first DC comic was Jeff Johns' Teen Titans run.
Look at all the K's, Zach. Look at all the K's.
Oh my goodness.
It's all tied together.
Ash, do you need like a full-time co-host, like an Andy to your Conan O'Brien?
I just need.
I'm going to bed, guys. Later.
I'm not looking for a sidekick. I like to. I don't try. I try to make sure anyone that does stuff with me is treated
No,
like
I was
me.
making a joke.
Oh, sorry.
I was making a joke. It fell flat.
I can't disrespect. RDB. He's been on with me for 51 episodes.
51 years, guys. 51 years.
51 years.
So I let him disrespect me, and then I just try to shower him with love.
Wow, RDB, how's it feel to know that Ash tries to shower with you?
Oh man,
Golden.
weren't you just trying to get into my good graces? But now you pull that.
Well, the
This one.
bait and switch.
I know. Yeah.
He tries to be nice to me, and then he asks my daughter out for a date. Son of a bitch.
So I didn't actually get a chance to read this. I got to go back because I was thinking Ghost Machine was the name of his company, but apparently Ghost Machine is a new book.
14.
Yeah.
And we're getting creators characters you'll love. Welcome to the Ghost Machine. I can't really talk about this because I haven't read it, and I'm not going to take time to read it now. Did either of you guys read these pages?
Well, if you pop up the article, it does announce the new teams on each book's coming up.
Right, but I didn't want to take time to read it now while we're live. So, but if you did, and you just can summarize real quick what it says.
Let me go back to the article.
You're gonna go read it right now. This is what I'm trying to avoid.
No, I had it popped up. You just skimmed down to the bottom. It tells you the next books are coming out for the characters. And it said, hold on. What the hell is this? Freaking pop-up ad. I hate freaking.
All right, so there's gonna be stuff coming out. It's called It's called Ghost Machine, and none of us have actually been informed because we haven't done the reading ourselves. But you can pause this video and read it. I'm gonna read it afterwards. I just didn't want to take the time now. Here's the cover for issue 2. Just every time like Geiger's in some badass pose, which I can't complain. He's a cool looking character. That's why I chose the thumbnail actually for the show tonight, because
I was kind of surprised that that's the one you went with of the two.
I was gonna do Big Game. Super excited about Big Game, but it just had a really busy cover, and there was just something elegant about this particular cover, and it makes for a really nice, sharp thumbnail. So
that's fair.
So,
I do like every time I get to the end of these books, I do appreciate going through that timeline, because I feel like Redcoat is going to be the next one that they introduce. I think it is.
Yeah, it was supposed to come out last year. Brian Hitch doing the art. So I don't know what's going on with that.
I think Brian Hitch, he's like, a bunch of his scheduling has gotten mixed up because he was supposed to draw a series for DC. Then they were talking about him and was it Mark Muller? Him and somebody were supposed to do like a Superman story for DC, like a miniseries or something. Then that got put on the back burner or maybe thrown in the trash. I don't know. So yeah, Brian Hitch, like, dude needs to stick to a schedule and commit to it.
Yeah.
His work is too good. But he is, I did look it up. He is one of the creators that is going to be exclusive to Ghost Machine. He's one Peter J. Tomasi is one. Francis Manipul, Jason Fabach, Jeff Johns, of course, Gary Frank. So yeah, those are like they're gonna be like fully exclusive to Ghost Machine, and then whatever they create and come up with, they're gonna like own and profit. So it's not gonna be like, okay, we're gonna create these characters, and then it's just they're gonna belong to Ghost Machine, and then we'll get a portion. They're actually gonna like own their own creations, which is pretty
Yeah,
cool. I'm a big fan of
they
that.
get full benefits of the creations.
Because you see so much now with like Marvel like skimping on royalties to creators, and I'm sure DC probably does the same thing. So I'm a big fan of seeing that.
I wouldn't be surprised if didn't Image never did that. Image didn't give you full control of your own creations, did they? When people joined.
Yes, Image
I
does
do
not work
not
like
know.
any other comic book publisher. Image is not a company that you join. They don't have their own properties like Marvel or DC or Boom or IDW or Dark Horse or whatever.
It is published, right?
They work
Also,
more like a traditional book publisher where they get talent, or talent comes to them and says, I have a book, I'm gonna submit it to you to see if it's worth publishing. If the editors at the book publisher go, oh yeah, I like this book, then they may publish it, and you become partners with them. Image is similar to that. You can come to Image and say, like, I just have work, I want it to be published, and you become partners with Image. They do all the publishing work, you do the creative work, you maintain all the rights. It's all your product. And what we've seen in recent times, in the beginning, it was just the original seven: Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, etc. They just brought all their stuff, and they were just artists making stuff. But what we've seen recently, and I believe the big guy to make this happen was Robert Kirkman.
Yep.
Basically, make their own fledgling like studio, like Marvel and DC have, but using Image as the publisher rather than basically publishing himself. And Silvestri has Top Cow. Kirkman has Skybound. What we're seeing now with Jeff Johns is he's got
Ghost Machine.
No.
Or Mad Ghost.
Mad Ghost. Although maybe he's changing it. Maybe he's calling it Ghost Machine, because Mad Ghost was his TV.
So Ghost Machine
that was the TV production studio. Yeah.
So Ghost Machine is actually that's the name of a book. It's coming out January.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just an anthology book.
But why does Ghost Machine have a label on a Geiger book? So I believe Ghost Machine might be his new label.
It was called Ghost Comics.
It's called Mad Ghost. Mad Ghost is his label,
yeah.
right? What I'm suspecting, and I haven't, this is all suspicion because I haven't read up, that he may have separated the comic side versus his TV, movie side. I don't actually know, but that might have actually been necessary if he's doing this partnership with these other creators to give them their own rights. He might not have been able to do that through Mad Ghost, so maybe he formed a new.
So Ghost Machine, he founded in October. Publishes creator-owned comics through Image Comics.
So
that's what it says.
Anyways, when we get these studios, so you can think of these studios as kind of like the Marvel and the DC, except they don't do their own publishing work the way IDW publishes themselves, Dynamite, etc. So hopefully that clears up for people. Here's a calendar of upcoming stuff. Let me see, get that bigger. November, December is Geiger 2. January is Ghost Machine issue 1, which has an anthology book, like you're talking about. And then there's some stuff that I've never heard of. Red Coat is part of the Unnamed War, but I never heard of Rook.
First Ghost is I believe it's gonna be the girl.
First Ghost is part of the Unnamed.
I don't remember hearing about Rook. I remember American Widow or Widow X or whatever her name was. Yeah. I remember hearing about that one, but Rook I hadn't heard of.
Yeah.
So that's new.
Rockefellers and Soulless. So they might be publishing stuff that's not part of the Unnamed, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Rook Exodus says right here is sprawling sci-fi epic which takes place in the far future on the world where every aspect of nature is controlled by humanity. Struggling farmer who must deal with problems that include winged scavengers who plague his crops. Farmer's given a second chance, becomes one of the wardens. Like if you look up Ghost Machine, Wikipedia is a list. It tells you for all these comic books coming out.
Oh,
tells you the synopsis.
So Marani says
That's
that
where I
Gary
learned.
Frank is one of the modern masters of comic book art. He may be slow in terms of putting out books, but they are supremely worth the wait. I can agree.
So I want to
Um,
see the Rockefellers. That's a Peter J. Tomasi to time Francis Mansell about time traveling.
oh, Peter J.
What
Tomasi's
book
getting a
again?
good artist.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, man. I was trying
This,
to get into
yeah,
that other book that he did, but that art was so terrible.
Blood
yeah.
Tree was really
Blood
But this
Tree.
the
rough.
series. Listen to this. The series premise is based upon the idea that Manipul explains thus is the best place to hide when you're in the witness protection, perhaps through a different time.
Yeah.
26th century, dysfunctional family, Rockefellers.
Interesting. I'm very curious to see. Sign me up. Francis Manipool, man. I don't know if any of you guys read that book they did with Scott Snyder. What was it called? Clear. It's one of the
No, I
most
didn't read
gorgeous
that one.
comics I've seen in a long time. It's beautiful.
Didn't he do work on the Flash like way back when, like maybe around like Rebirth era?
Josh Williamson, I
Probably.
think,
He's
imagine
been
it.
around
Well,
for a
yeah, but
while.
I think Francis was like in between Jeff Johns and Josh Williamson,
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
He
So that
did
would have been New 52.
when Scott Snyder took over the Justice League, there was like
Yeah.
an interim 4-issue miniseries
Yes.
book that he did.
Yeah.
I was
The
never
No
a huge
Justice one.
No
Yeah.
Justice, yeah. I was never a huge Manipool fan. Like I was like, hey, it's fine. Like I just don't get why people are hyped. But that book Clear, I was
Yep.
like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
this is amazing. This is next level. Um, so I'm
I
excited.
do
And
remember
Peter J.
that.
Tomasi is one of my favorite writers in the modern era. Um, I hope that those
There's
two come
there,
together and present something
and
awesome.
then they're doing a horror universe called the Soul, and then one of the books is called the Soulless. It's co-created by it's this universe was co-created by what Ghost Machine indicated in 2020 Comic Con was launched as a prominent artist who was under contract with another publisher, so then he would not be announced at a later date. The name of this universe is still yet to be announced at the company's launch, though the name of the central book is reported by Bleeding Cool on the day of the company's New York Comic Con. So there's not really much about it, but they're building a horror universe.
Interesting. Well, I'm excited, man. I'm
Good.
all in on the unnamed stuff, but I really like this idea that Jeff Johns might be seeing the writing on the wall with the industry and going, you know what? If Marvel and DC can't do it, maybe I need to make my own comic book company and shared universe stuff and just start hiring some talent and
How's Stan Lee of him?
yeah,
I mean,
that's exactly.
we got Jeff Johns doing this, and then we have Miller World. I mean, right now we're still getting Brubaker books.
Yep.
There's a lot
I
of
mean, we're
stuff in
definitely
indies you can actually go look. You said if you hate Marvel and DC currently right now, try some indie books. You got a lot to offer from indie.
there.
No.
The thing is there's we've been talking about this for a while. There's great indie books that are out there, but if you're a fan of like a shared superhero universe like Marvel and DC, you don't really have much choice besides Marvel and DC. So
Yeah.
I can tell them, hey, read this Ed Brubaker book, and they're like, yeah, I'm not really into crime stories, like, and that's
Yeah.
fair. Like, I think it's gonna knock your socks off, but it's not gonna replace Batman for you or Superman or Spider Man. Like, you might want to. I'm excited because not only does Jeff Johns write great stuff, but if he can do this and also make a comic book company and like bring good talent in and do different superhero characters that are all in the same world and they can interact and we might be able to find new things to fall in love with. Uh, I'm super excited. Everyone that's look at Jason Fabok. Where's that guy been? He used to be a
That's a good question.
huge name during the Rebirth era. He might have been the biggest artist name when I remember when I got into comics or got back into comics in 2018. Jason Fabok. I was like, and he's just been gone. Francis Manipool has just been blowing away. Brad Metzler's part of this too.
Metzler, that was the big one because
Yeah, his
some
book
of
is
his DC stuff is some of my favorite.
so he's writing the supernatural story called First Ghost that takes place in the White House.
Nice. Sign me up. Cannot
It's
wait.
starring Joe Biden.
Joe Oh man, there's some times when you're on point. Speaking of on point, our next book is One Big Game.
Ooh, baby!
Okay. Big Game has been
Oh,
up to this issue the most exciting, most spectacular superhero event type book I've read probably since the original Infinity Gauntlet. And I am not being hyperbolic. I am just astonished at what he's been able to do. It's not perfect. I have critiques about it. I have critiques about this issue. But if I shuffle those off to the side and just think about my experience reading this book, this is just some of the most fun when it comes to superhero stuff, right? There's other great stuff out there. We talked about Ed Brubaker. His criminal books are unbelievable, but it's like apples and oranges. When it comes to writing superhero universe stuff where characters come together to save existence, like there's just it's not done often. Well, it's done a lot now. Marvel does it like 3 times a year, but it's rarely done well. And this series has blown me away. This is the best thing that Mark Miller has done in my mind in quite a few years. And he's done some good stuff. Like he rarely disappoints, but I wasn't ready for this. This book is phenomenal.
I loved it, even though I called the ending.
You did call the ending, and I was grumbling. I was grumbling at parts when I was reading it.
Real spoiler, Venkman. No, this was
Spoiler. I just called it. It would normally do, and I figured that's what it was. It wasn't a spoiler because I didn't know at the time.
We know you're Venkman from the future.
From the 27th century. This place sucks. Here, I'm going back.
Yeah, this is a fantastic cap. A fantastic ending. I actually like everything about this. This is probably the best issue of the whole thing. The art is good. The storytelling is good. There is even a panel where I could see. I read the word bubble and I heard Ash's voice. Because it was a word bubble. I remember you talking about it in a past issue, and I'll point it out when we get to it. But yeah, but I do agree though. I don't think I've enjoyed a comic book event since I think it was 2015, might have been 2014. It was like when Jonathan Hickman was on the Avengers. He did an event. I call it the last good comic event. But even like the big moments of that, I think this beats it out just a little bit more by like a fraction of a hair, maybe a little bit more than that.
Well, I don't want to cast any shadow on that Jonathan Hickman event because I did not read that personally. So when I say that, anyone who's a fan of that can kind of omit that because my consideration did not consider that series.
I'm not talking about Secret Wars, by the way. I'm talking about the smaller one, Infinity, that he did. Was the one that
I haven't read that either.
That was a good one.
I guess say for me, I hate pretty much every event that I've ever read. That we haven't been impressed by them. This actually, this blew my way. This blew me away because it's just phenomenal.
You were depressed by Infinity Gauntlet?
You were depressed by Crisis on Infinite Earths?
I said impressed. I wasn't impressed. I wasn't depressed by it. I wasn't like
more impressed with it. Well, Infinity Gauntlet, I mean, all these years later, if you didn't read it during the time, Infinity Gauntlet was like this. Like it was just like every issue was like, oh my god. Just like
like I said, I'm not a big huge event person.
Well, when they're done really well, and Infinity Gauntlet for me was the first time it was done really well. I remember when it came out, I was like, oh, it's another Secret Wars. And then I read it. No, at the time there was Secret Wars 1 and Secret Wars 2.
Oh, okay. Well, Secret Wars 2, yeah, we're not.
Secret Wars 1 is. Come on. Look, neither one was trash. It was just like, I was like, oh, come on. Like, I wasn't prepared, is all I'm saying. And I wasn't a big George Perez fan at the time. He was a DC guy. And I was like, oh, it's George Perez. This doesn't even look like Marvel stuff. His art's so weird to me. And then I came out the back end of Infinity Gauntlet being like, oh my gosh, George Perez is amazing. This is like the best book I've ever read. Oh, anyways. We're not here to talk about Infinity Gauntlet.
We're not here for that. You're here for big game.
Remember a moment ago I said it's extremely rare to get top writing with top art? This is a
Not here.
this is a back-to-back. This is like
We're 2 for 2.
2 for 2. Oh my goodness. Now, I know I'm going to get in some disagreement, probably especially with Maranya. I actually like Pepe Larraz's art better than our boy Gary Frank when it comes to comic
I
book.
agree. I
Um,
agree with Ash on this.
it's not a slight to Gary Frank at all. I think that Pepe Larraz's art, for me, is more suited to mainstream superhero books.
Yep.
Gary Frank is more of what I would consider like a classical artist,
I would
and
say
he's very
Gary Frank is more
he's very good.
He's good. He's more realistic.
Yeah.
Which, I don't necessarily want a lot of realism in my superhero fantasy art.
Now,
Sometimes it's okay, but
to
yeah,
be
Pepe,
fair,
I agree.
To be fair, I also think Jeff Johns knows his artist and is pairing with Gary Frank because the type of story that Jeff Johns wrote was a very human drama, to which Gary Frank is very well suited for. I don't think I'd want Pepe Larraz drawing, dad tucking the kids in the bed. I don't think that's what Pepe Larraz's strong suit is either. So in both of these books, I think we got the artist that is suited for what the story is. Mark Miller is not writing a human drama. He's writing a Michael Bay film. This is all spectacle. Like Michael Bay's done some good stuff.
Movie, if it was okay, but when was the last one that he did?
His last movie.
What was the last good movie that
13
he did?
Hours was like amazing.
Oh, he did. I forgot that he did 13 Hours.
He's done some good stuff.
Mind.
Come on. Anyway,
he's done some, but then he's also done like 3 of the Transformers movies. So
I need to find my Apple.
What are you talking about? I thought he did 5 of them.
Well, did he do? He didn't do Bumblebee, and I don't think he did Rise of the Beast. I don't think he did.
I'm sorry. There's 6 of them. He did the first 5. Anyways, so this book. Okay, so when we last left off, the villains were winning. They killed off all sorts of people, and the last issue was amazing. Last issue was my favorite issue. But so what happens is there's this evil overlord who is kind of a cross between Apocalypse and Thanos. If they had like a child, and this guy and he's stuck like 20 something million years in the past. But he's like he's conquered the whole galaxy. I don't know. Anyways, so he's learned that the world that he's from, which is our present world, well, he's still in our world, he's just in the prehistoric past, has become a bunch of sniveling weaklings and all this different stuff, and he sends his people to go conquer it in his name and put it back to the way he wants. So he sends his minion, his lieutenant, Diabolos, who's a sorcerer, who reminds me, I don't know if this is on purpose or what, but he reminds me so much of the right-hand man that Thanos had.
He reminded me of Steppenwolf from Justice League.
I guess you could.
He's basically, you're thinking of the Black Order?
Yes, the Black Order.
The Black Order guy, is it Ebony Maw? I think it's Ebony Maw.
Yeah. Ebony Maw.
Maw, yeah.
Yeah. You're right. His look is a little more like Steppenwolf. And I'm not familiar with Steppenwolf, so maybe that's why I didn't make that connection. But the Ebony Maw.
Magic Carpet Ride sometime.
Magic Carpet. So he sends Diabolos to go and conquer, and he's a badass. And it creates sort of this weird Mexican standoff, which is a great thing if you know how to pull that off. And here we see our main baddie. What's his name again? Wesley Gibson. Wesley Gibson, and he's basically the ruler of the world. We didn't know this. He's run it behind the scenes. He is the guy from Wanted, all grown up, and he's become the ultimate bad guy. He's responsible for the death of all the superheroes. This alien race shows up, but does he flinch? Nope. He lights up a cigarette. He just cools the character like, damn, this guy is a bad mofo. and now he's facing off Diablos, and now we got these whole new party. It's like, okay, and he's negotiating with them. Diablos can read minds and see like your entire past. So Diablos talks about, hey, I can see when you were just, this, weakling working in a cubicle and blah, blah, blah. Your life was going nowhere and all this stuff. And, look at Wesley just listens to it all. And then he makes this comment, you want to go back for reinforcements? It's like, oh my God. Just the way he was written is so awesome. Now, meanwhile, Hit Girl was trapped back in time. She hitched a ride, stowaway, and she's sneaking around. And they're having this standoff and banter and talking about how one of them's going to beat the other guy and how they're more badass than the other. Meanwhile, Hit Girl's sneaking around, kicking people off the ship, and she grabs the body that they used to make the time travel, which is one of the dead chrononauts, and she escapes in time with it.
It's their time machine.
So now so she goes, and she goes.
Yeah, it's fine.
She goes. I have a time machine. Ho ho ho.
So she says, set course for 3 days in the past, and she's zap gone. Now, this was one of the best openings of a comic book. These, however many pages this is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Was just such a fantastic opening. When you get to this point, when you've been following the story and you go, and she goes back in the past, immediately I thought about Venkman. I was like, damn, mother effer was right.
I've been waiting for this whole time since I read it on Thursday. I was like, ooh, Ash.
But at the same time, Miller pulls it off so well.
Yes.
I followed that up with being like, you know what? I don't even care. I like this. Like, when Venkman had proposed this, I was like, that sounds stupid. I hope he doesn't do that. But what he's doing, I'm like, oh, okay. When I imagined it, I didn't imagine it this way. So I'm on board. So she goes back 3 days in the past, and this is right before they came out of the time thing, and they're about to get ambushed. And instead of the people walking out to an ambush, Hit Girl slaughters them, and she has her line.
The ambushers.
Exactly. And you fuckers talk too much, she says. And then they come out of the machine like, what the hell? And so she explains like, sorry, I don't have time to explain, blah blah. And I love that the Chrononauts are still written in character.
Yes.
Because it's so difficult. Like, the tone of the Chrononauts is so much different than a lot of Mark Miller's other books. They're total like dude bros. And seriously, like I would cast the blonde as Owen Wilson. Like, that's kind of like the way he's written.
Yeah.
And so his reaction when he sees when he sees himself strung up, like just the way he's like, "What? You strung around my corpse?" Anyways, I had a total laugh. The Mark Miller captured it.
Put Bagor's head at least.
Gosh. Yeah, I mean, look at this last panel. He even does like the little dot eyes. Yeah, put it back over his head. We get this cool shot, and this is, man, made me have to do a slow clap for Pepe Larraz, because I'm always happy when comic book artists can draw vehicles, planes, cars, whatever, but you can do it in a way that makes me just go, oh, that looks so good. Most comic book artists are adept at drawing people, human bodies. Machines, not so much, but man, the Larraz. And
I know some artists, they actively try to avoid drawing machines.
And so this is what I'm talking about, where I like Larraz's art more than Gary Frank, not because he's a better illustrator or anything perhaps, but his art has this sense of action. There's a sense of you just feel the action in it. And this shot here, when Huck is ripping off the canopy, and the angle from the pilot looking up like that, it's such a great angle. We get to see a side of Huck who before was like, oh, look, he's like all super kind-hearted, and so he's just like, that's not very nice. And look at the angry look on the polar bear cub. He's giving him the stink eye. It's so great. And then we cut over.
This is the Ash panel.
So we cut over, and this is.
Go ahead.
Hold on. So basically, what we're doing is we're getting replays of stuff that we've already seen happen, except it's playing out a little bit differently now that Hit Girl's
And
gone
they've been
back and
warned more.
warned people. And so we don't get to see it all in detail. We're just seeing the changes. So we cut to the next page and they're in a limousine. These people are pondering how they're going to kill the vampires. And one guy's like, oh, we can fill up a pool of holy water. And then they're arguing, well, isn't holy water really the same molecular structure as water? Which I really appreciated because I like when the author addresses kind of the elephant in the room. Because as a reader, I'm like, wait a second, that doesn't make sense. If you make the characters recognize the nonsense, it helps me at least appreciate. And then we don't even have to answer the question because he immediately goes, okay, I'm not even going to answer. I'm just going to immediately go to the action. We see the poof of smoke and what's going on. Well, they materialized inside of the limousine and slaughter the guys that were going to kill them. And then we cut
That
over to
was
the
the Ash panel, by the way.
oh, what were you going to
That
say?
was where I heard your. That was the one where I heard your voice. Is it regular water the same as holy water? Like that's the one. I was like, yep, that's Ash in a comic book right there.
But it's cool like that Mark Millar is
It
like
is.
he's not ignorant. He's like, yeah, I know. I'm like, okay, well, okay, at least you know. Then
This is my favorite part right here.
we cut over to Siberia, and Pakistan is got prisoner, and this is where we saw how Nemesis shows up, and we see Korea's like, get away from my friend, asshole, and he says his line. He's like, oh, your powers are artificially generated, blah, blah, blah. He's giving their powers to me, blah, blah, blah. Except Korea is prepared this time. And so I'm assuming she's charged up. She just backhands Nemesis, and he's like, what the hell? And then they're all prepared, and they have their powers ready to
His
go.
teeth flying out. Those three teeth flying there.
Yeah.
This reminds me of that scene from Wanted where Wesley like knocks the guy's teeth out. Also,
And
that
Reminds me of
top
Kick-Ass.
panel-
Mark would get his ass kicked.
That top panel right there is gold. Download, kick to the balls.
Yeah. This
I like.
so apparently you guys both really like this scene. This
Because the reason I like this because it was up at this point, he's been untouchable.
Yes.
It all led up to this. So basically he deserved this beatdown, and it was glorious a beatdown for him.
he does deserve the beatdown. The thing that I don't like is I don't buy the beatdown. I don't buy that how she's able to backhand like Nemesis is a total badass. Like
yeah, but
I
if
don't
she's got strength, the super strength, and he has nothing.
correct.
Well,
So my complaint is more I don't really have I don't feel that I have a good explanation of why she's able to pull this off. I see that she is pulling it off, but I don't know. I have to like make up answers in my head, which you're probably right. Maybe she does have super strength. Maybe she's got super speed.
They lost their superpowers. He's basically so basically they're all human normal strength, and he had all their powers. He was able to take them down instantly. Where now they actually have their abilities are prepared for him. So she probably has Hulk strength.
Maybe, but he's
so
also got
like
powers too.
Yeah, I see it. Well, yeah, but I see it as being like a pride thing. Like he thinks they don't have anything, and that he's holding all the cards. So he's like, I can do whatever I want to, and
like his reaction.
That's where this backhand just catches them off guard. It's
Yeah.
like you can have like an NFL linebacker, and if he doesn't expect a threat, he doesn't expect you to be a threat. You can knock him out. So
the kid's flipping him off.
Yeah,
I just noticed that now. I didn't see it the first time. But
So,
anyway,
the download the kick to the balls line was a little cringy to me.
Don't take that from me.
No, if you like it, I'm not saying no one else could. I'm just saying it didn't completely work for me.
It's meant to be kid cringing.
Okay, fair enough. I'm not.
They have a kid on the thing.
I'm not trying to tell anyone else. I'm not trying to tell anyone else how to think.
No. I'm just explaining it to you.
Okay.
As a kid would explain to you.
So, in true fashion to form, being written for kids, we get to see everyone obliterated and slaughtered in this nice PG story for kids.
Pretty great.
So this messed me up for a moment because I was like, who the hell is this guy on the left?
Mr. Terrific. Or not Mr. Prodigy. Same thing.
Prodigy,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, you can call him Mr. Terrific. It's fine. Except look at him. He's not black.
He's white.
Well, he's not quite white. He's like well tanned. He looks like he's from Morocco or something. I'm like, he's supposed to be black. So I actually read this page and I thought that dude was just some sort of henchman guy, like suiting up. It doesn't ruin the story for me because I'm not offended by that sort of stuff. But immediately when I went back and I was like, oh, that's
Isn't his
Edison
name Dr.
Crane.
Crane?
I was like, why
Yeah.
does he not look black? I was like, dude.
That's what I was confused about because she says, "Are you ready, Dr. Crane?" And you,
Well,
yeah,
she says
and
it
here
over
you
the
are.
comms, right? Like you don't know.
But he
Anyways,
replies back, though.
I piece it together now, but at the time, like I said, he doesn't look black to me. I'm like, that's. I guess maybe
He's not
Pepper
black enough for you.
He's not. Like I'm okay with it. I'm saying I'm fine. I just wasn't prepared.
Cancel this artist.
If I were a leftist, yeah, I would be calling for cancel. So we get here's another thing I believe you called correctly is Bobby Griffin
being part of the she was supposed to be yeah, she had told you she was supposed to be
Barbara
her
Gordon.
character was Barbara Gordon. That's what it seemed
Yeah.
like because the big guy she worked with, the family was the whole the thing through she's in all the cars. It's exactly the Batcave.
Yeah. So basically this was really getting me going. I was excited because the whole time I was like, man, if anyone is going to stop these guys, they need Edison Crane. And so being able to get him back, I like this Bobby Griffin character. And I'm assuming the bottom girl was Korea.
Yeah, it's her. Yeah, she's
Yeah. So
informing them.
they get everyone together and they're gonna go stop. And we get this nice
Nemesis is a
2-page
tight
spread. Nice 2-page spread to appreciate all of Miller's works. Really cool. And then we see on this little panel here, we see Duke
X-Men.
McQueen. Well, he had previously radioed in for some friends. Who are his friends? Well, we know he made friends with an alien empire out in space and had some Flash Gordon type adventures and then came back to Earth. Well, he's calling upon them. So now there's a different alien space force has come in. So now we've got the Battle of Four Armies. So they show up. Remember all those heroes were getting gathered on the carrier. They show up, but apparently Wesley has negotiated with Diablos to have a part-time truce so they could just both wipe out the heroes together before they throw down. And again, look at Edison Crane here at the bottom. Does that look like a black guy? That guy looks more like Reed Richards than Pedro Pascal does.
He looks more black in that picture, I think.
Really? The bottom here?
There's also just like a really orange tint to the overall scene, like that
He
big
also-
panel
yeah.
above them.
He also looks like Will Smith.
They've got that red sky thing going on, like DC does every time there's a crisis.
He looks like he looks like he looks like blackface Bruce Wayne.
He looks like Reed Richards got a tan to me. Anyways,
Well, he's
that's
his
a
sister.
bad tan.
You've seen his sister, right? Sister's black, so it all makes sense.
That's true. Your cover's blown, Gibson. Everyone in the world can see what your friends have been up to now. So Edison Crane's trying to reason with him, like, look, you've hidden behind the scenes, but now the whole world knows what's going on. And he just responds, who cares? We made the world forget before. We'll wipe their minds all over again. And then you get the response, my generation never got our big battle, so this should be a lot of fun. And I'm going to kill you first, Bobby, by the way. And so then we get the big action and more full-page spreads of throwdown.
Dude riding a velociraptor in the corner. I'm just now seeing that.
Really?
Dude, there's so much going on these
How are
pages.
you? There's a lot going on. This is why you gotta
since Thursday.
You gotta save.
I've read this book twice.
You gotta savor the page. There's a big giant mech too.
Robot.
Yeah, giant robots.
Yeah, I know, dinosaurs and robots. We don't have Nazis, but we've got 2 out of 3.
I love the composition of this shot, the angle,
Yeah.
Pepe the Roz just has been excelling at these great, like, I don't know what else to call them, but like camera angles. And I know it's not really a camera, but it really does
Dynamic.
matter. It makes it, you
Yeah.
can draw a lot of lesser artists will draw very flat where everything is at like eye level. These interesting angles mean a lot. And so here's the part where RDV's predictions came true. I
Again.
didn't care because this you're 3 for 3. RDV did a hat trick in this issue because he made 3 predictions and all of them came true. This is the third one. So we see at Central Park, we see there's explosions in the background in the sky. People are freaking out. And Kick-Ass is all sad because he's like, I'm fine. Sorry, just some of my friends are in the fight, and I'm really worried that they're gonna get killed out there. And he's like, I want to be able to do something. And it's our good friend, what's her name, Cornelia from the Magic Order, and she can't really get involved, and but she's kind of admiring like that he's a good guy and stuff, and he's and he's like, I'm sorry, do we know each other? Cornelia Moonstone, and I know exactly how you're feeling right now, dude. I'm the leader of a group called the Magic Order, but the rules mean that we're forced to stand aside too when there's not a magical situation. Kick-Ass is like, I don't understand. It's our team's job to save the world, but only when the threats are monsters and supernatural abilities. We're not allowed to step in when situations like this or the repercussions end up 10 times worse, which I thought was a really good explanation for Mark Millar's part to keep them out of it because they're really OP.
So why does Dr. Fate get involved?
So
he shouldn't.
So I was like at this point really happy that the Magic Order wasn't involved because I thought they're OP. And he's like, all these people on your team? And she's explaining yes and stuff, and then Kick-Ass is like, but wait, but this is a magical threat. And she's like, wait, what? And he informs her, he's like, they formed a pact with Diablos the sorcerer. It's all over the internet. And then she responds, well, yeah, but it's not really magic. It's like magic Asgard, like Asgard science. Like it's not the way Marvel does. Yeah, it's not really. And he's like, are we really going to argue over semantics? And then she looks.
Calls himself as her.
And he's like, do you think we'll get away with it? And he says, who's going to stop you? Are you guys game? Hell yeah. And so they get together, and she's just like, I see a little gang of supers getting the shit kicked out of them by the forces twice their size. How do we even those odds? And she's like, I like where this is going, boss. So they raise their wands in the air, and Kick-Ass is like, wait, are those magic wands? And so she's like, what are you doing? And she's like, a cry for help. And she summons this magical whirlwind in space. And she brings in heroes from another dimension.
Jupiter Legacy?
Also known as Jupiter's Legacy. And all the heroes of that come flying through and join the fight. And I think part of the reason I was okay with this is because realistically, the Magic Order just needed a magical wave a wand and be like, it's done. That's how overpowered they are.
But he wanted to bring Jupiter Legacy into it, though.
But the way that this was written is their help is along the lines of bringing in more heroes, not them directly interceding. And so I was like, okay, that's a little bit cooler. And so they join the fight, and Kick-Ass is all like just watching. He's like, oh my god, there are superheroes from the comic books. I used to grow up reading. I used to grow up just reading just when we needed. And so it'd be like us, like looking in the sky and actually seeing Superman, like, so he's tearing up. He's sad because, and the thing is, in this world, Jupiter's Legacy is just comic books. Like they're actually another dimension. So they're not actually part of the Millerverse 616, if you will.
Yeah. She basically gives him this ambassador suit, which I love.
So he's like, I can't believe they're fucking real. And he's just like, that's all he cares about. He's like, of course they're real. Everything out there somewhere. But if I'm bending the rules a little already, I might as well let you have some fun too. And she waves a wand. Just what you said, gives him a suit that's like the ambassador suit.
Yeah.
And then you get to see Kick-Ass. And so he's like, now go and do what you were born to do. And we get to see Kick-Ass flying into battle. And this was the part that I had talked about. I didn't necessarily predict that this was going to happen, but I had said like I wanted to see Kick-Ass
him as
actually be a real superhero. So I was just
word that he's, like I said, real quickly, if I interject, Kick-Ass started this off.
Yeah.
The whole entire Millerverse. And then have him be towards the end, finally getting his just desserts. Well, basically, not just desserts, but basically say him shows that he's been the main character this whole entire time. And this is a character that Mark loves the most.
He also kind of like they kind of low key hint that he might have some magical properties to him, because Cordelia says to him, "That's the way magic works. You started all this with the best intentions, and you only ever wanted to help. But you bent probability when you pulled on that mask, and now things have escalated to the point where we're facing an alien threat through a time barrier." And that's when he's like, "Wait, do we know each other?" So she's explaining to him that his actions of becoming Kick-Ass kind of skewed reality and allowed all this to build. So I thought that was really cool. Like he's like the beginning of the Millerverse. And then she gives him the powers. We get to see this. This to me as a Kick-Ass fan was really cool, because the whole thing about Dave Lazowski is he doesn't really have powers. He doesn't feel pain because his nerve endings are all dead, but that doesn't make him super otherwise. So this was just a kind of a feel-good moment to see that. And then we get to see a bunch of just panels of fighting. Really cool. I mean, Pepe the Raz just earning a paycheck here. Look at that.
That needs to be a poster.
Right?
T-Rex with a Gatling gun.
The T-Rex, the giant woman, Kick-Ass. I mean, just everything about
Ultraman up there.
Pepe the Raz beats. I'm sorry. This poster is proof. This is my first and last round of evidence. Pepe the Raz beats Gary Frank. I'm sorry.
It's a cool shot.
Cordelia with the force field going up against the dinosaur, the Jupiter's Legacy. Like, this is like, where's Waldo? You could stare at this thing forever just looking at all the different details.
Yeah.
It's the chick from Wanted fighting what's his name? Duke Starlight or
Starlight.
Duke
Starlight,
McQueen.
yeah. Duke McQueen, thank you. I don't know why I got started. McQueen. Yeah, I think that's.
Well, Starlight was in the very beginning. Remember, he was teaching the class.
Yeah, and now he's swashbuckling and fighting against Fox from Wanted. Like, come on.
Because wasn't he supposed to be like kind of like the John Carter?
He's like Flash Gordon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is amazing. Like you're right. You could just sit there and stare. Come on.
This needs to be a poster. This is gonna be a desktop of mine before too long.
And then you see this.
This one made me gasp. I almost dropped the book when I read this.
I did when I saw this. I was like, "Oh damn!" It started so loud in my house.
I would have almost dropped my book too, except I was reading on an iPad and it's too expensive.
Yeah.
But I love this. I love this cutaway because Mark Millar, dude. Okay, Pepe the Raz is doing amazing art, but take a look at this. Take a look at how he manipulates you. I don't want to say manipulate, but how he guides you as the reader. He takes you through this moment of Kick-Ass is emotional, and you're very excited. You get to see Kick-Ass
and then low.
So you get to see Kick-Ass being the hero. How he structures each page. We end the page where we see the fighting. Then we all of a sudden it's like, whoa! We get this massive 2-page spread, which if you're reading comic books the way that it's intended to, you should be pausing on this page.
See Dave down there I just noticed Dave down there. I didn't notice the first time.
You should be pausing on this page and soaking it all in and going, oh my God, what's going on? And then you turn the page and it's kind of like record scratch. Back to reality. We see Wesley kicking, I believe that's Edison Crane. He's like, all right, enough fucking around.
There's Bobby behind him.
And so he's like punching, and then you see, oh, here comes Kick-Ass. Hit Girl. Here comes Hit Girl from behind. And he's turns around and just shoots her right through the freaking head. Like the only bad thing about this page to me was that your peripheral vision can kind of see what's coming when you open this page.
Your eye is drawn. Like,
right.
That's the first thing you see.
But if you cover up the bottom half of the page and you're reading, that Hit Girl should have been kind of like the last panel on the page, so you could flip and then see this happen. But regardless, that's a minor nitpick. The point is, you're like, oh damn, and then if you didn't pause here, like you said, you almost dropped it. I had to stop and be like, did he really just kill Hit Girl? What the fuck?
Because, I mean, that's the thing. Mark Millar, like, he'll use, he strikes me as the guy, he'll use a character death. Like, this
Yes.
is one of those big stories that's like, okay, he may make you think that he saved everybody and this is an everybody lives story.
But wait.
Well, let me finish my sentence.
Well, finish your sentence.
But then he, he's like, nope, not everybody's gonna live. Here's a death for you, and it's like the one who, the one who brings everybody back.
So,
Right.
before we move ahead, let's go back to where we see the Chrononauts guy sees his dead body. So we already know this. Everybody forgets that when she came back, she sees Chrononauts. The guy sees his own body up there. That's a key thing to what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Everyone forgets about that.
Well, you're supposed to forget.
Yeah. Because so much stuff happens. You're like, and you get this moment, you're like, oh, then you're like, wait.
So we see Hit Girl falling down, and we see Bobby is like, oh, Hit Girl. What's the matter, Bobby? Bring back memories? And then he kicks her in the face. I used to be soft like you old school heroes, but they burned that shit out of me, and now I've conquered all my fears. I'm finally the guy that I always wanted to be. And if I die here, so be it, motherfucker. At least I die a man. And he's got the upper hand. He's gonna maybe kill her, and we hear bang. And it's, you're still fucking pussy. And in true form, the best way that he could have gone out was Hit Girl. And you're like, wait a second, like how? Wait. And then we get to explain, like, how the hell are there two of you? And then it's like pointed out by what's this? The English, what's the English
guy?
Eggsy. Oh, one went back in time there days ago. One went back in time 3 days ago. The other was me. It's not rocket science, mate. And he's like, oh yeah. And I just love like how Miller writes this, because this is exactly how I was. As soon as like I saw this panel, I was the same way. I was like, oh yeah, like what you were explaining, RDV. You go back in time, it's all there. You're just not thinking about it. And I just love that when the writer knows where the audience is going to be.
And let's think about it. She was a paradox. She had to die. You can't have two Hit Girls at the same time. Eventually, that would have been a huge, big issue.
Maybe. Anyways, so the fight's not completely over, but it is about is. So the Magic Order puts all their wands together, crosses the streams, and they send Diablos to hell, or who knows. They finish him off. And they won. It says, we won, man. I can't believe it. All these guys just giving up. And so there's some celebration. These are some moments of, like, I think some of these moments are just kind of nostalgia moments for people who are fans of other series that Miller did, to see characters reunite. Yeah. I didn't actually read Starlight, so I'm not. This book would probably matter even more to me had I read Starlight. But these characters I'm not super familiar with, so I don't have the emotion like I do with Kick-Ass, for example. We see a scene with the vampires, and they see Sam, and he's just like, F you. He's like, and then this ship lands, and I was wondering the whole time, I was like, what about Sharky? And so just a little cameo, Sharky shows up. It's the bounty
hunter.
Yeah, the Space Bounty Hunter series that Miller did a couple years back.
No, they said I had no idea who the hell this was. I was just like, this is just weird.
Yeah, he wrote
another one. This and Starlight are the two.
I thought it was a girl.
They added to my list.
So
Extra Billy, I thought it was a girl.
So he shows up and collects the body, and he's like, explaining how there's been a bounty for these guys for 65 million years or something stupid. We get this weird scene
I
at
like how
Ibiza,
line.
where these girls are like, "Are you seeing what I'm seeing, Cody?" Bill, and they're like, "You bet I am." And something tells me we should get our asses out of here as soon as we finish these drinks. And I was like,
No, I gotta ask, aren't these the girls that were on the variant with the Kingsman?
No, I don't think so.
I don't
Or
know. These
I
might
remember
be.
on the variant the girl.
Oh, there's. You know what? There's another Mark Millar series of books, I believe, that I didn't read either. That these two girls are, but
They appeared.
anyways.
Yeah, they appeared. King of Spies. They were on his. They were on his cover.
No, no. I believe the one I'm thinking of is a sci-fi book.
But I'm saying they were on the variant cover with King of Spies in one of the past issues.
Oh, that may be. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
So
know. I
we get
found
the like, little sunset scene. They're taking the body, blah blah blah. We get to see not Black Edison Crane again, talking to Bobby. They offer her to be the spot for America, and for the ambassadors, and you get back in the superhero game, and she turns it down, and says, "You know what? Who you should pick is
I
Dave
called this
Lazuski."
one.
Right. Well, yeah. I didn't predict this would happen, but this was one of those things too that I was saying I would like to see this happen because he would be the perfect choice. And apparently, Mark Miller agrees with me because Kick-Ass is now America.
But there's one more thing that I was right about.
So I just think it's amazing that America is Kick-Ass. That's just so fit. Like, not just in the character, but it's just
The name.
the name Kick-Ass is America. It's too perfect. Um, yeah, Edison's talking to Korea, blah blah blah, stuff. You guys, Nemesis is. They talk about Nemesis is a paraplegic, and how he's been paralyzed from the neck down, but he says that he'll be walking again in 6 months. Said he'll be back to full physical fitness, rebuild his entire fortune, and burn the world down by Christmas next year. Yeah, I'm told also that he's putting together a hit list for when he's better, and there's 4,235 people that he wants to murder, and it's going up every day.
Wait,
The guy's a
so wait till
psychopath.
yeah.
I say we
Wait.
double the security just to be on the safe side. And so,
Nice.
But I'm gonna tell you right now. My prediction is we're gonna get around next Christmas. We're gonna get another book with Nemesis.
yeah, we're getting. Mark Miller's already said he's got 2 more Nemesis books.
Yep.
Which I was a little bummed that he said that, because he said it
oh,
last week before this book came out. And I was like, dude, don't say
Yeah.
that. I was thinking
Oh,
that Nemesis could possibly die. Now I know for sure he doesn't die. Anyways,
yeah. So I want to real quick point out this whole thing with the Empress. Apparently, this whole thing with their involvement here. Dominic told me this is a prequel to that series. So all the people you see here, like you see the Thanos like character. This is a prequel to what you're going to see him in the actual series.
what series?
So, Empress.
Empress takes place after this, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, well that makes. Empress doesn't take place after this. Empress takes place in a time period that's not 65 million years ago.
No. But yeah, but I'm saying this. This is before their storyline with everything that you see in Empress is after this, after the which events you see here. This is like they're like go way in their past before that both events of that book happened.
It's after
Not
the
65 million
events.
years ago.
It's after the
Yeah.
events in the past here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So the past goes back before the events of that book.
Mhm.
Okay. And so we see, the main bad guy, Apocalypse Thanos, says, "I wonder how Diablos is getting on out there." And we see that captain of the guard or whatever is just kind of looking on. Sounds like it makes a lot more sense to Nemesis, or Empress readers. And then we cut over to Maine, the library, and we see Huck talking to a guy, and he's being a little too loud, and Bobby Griffin has become the librarian.
Remember, Barbara Gordon was librarian.
And
you're starting to see all the things click together.
Yeah. And so he apologized. He's being too loud, and he gets chastised. And that's probably what the whole point of this scene was, is just to kind of confirm your suspicions of who she's supposed to be. And then we cut over to this scene, and
I love it. I love it. When I saw
I
this,
knew
I
this was
actually
happening, and I did not love this. So, I kind of like it, but I didn't like how it was actually executed. I wish he could have done it better. I thought it was a missed opportunity.
executed was a good word.
Yeah, I feel like there's a major missed opportunity here.
What
So,
about you, Zach?
basically, we get this weird thing here, and it's like, I love a happy ending, don't you, Cordelia? Oh, this isn't over yet. Don't you want to know what happened to Wesley Gibson? He died, didn't he? I thought I saw him get shot by the hit girl. Yes, but that wasn't the end of it, not by a long shot. Mr. Gibson woke up where we all go when we die. And I had a big grin on my face because I was like, Reborn, which is a story I read on my my little reading stream that I used to do more regularly. Fantastic story about a girl who goes to the afterlife and has a full-on adventure there. And Wesley wakes up there, and I was like, yes, dude, awesome. This is the way you cross Reborn over with. That's the only way you could do it. And he wakes up. He's like, what the hell? Last thing I remember is Hit Girl blindsiding me from behind. I was just about. And he's like, just kind of putting it together. And he sees these little Disney animal characters. And notice the rabbit is holding a battle axe. What the hell? He's looking down at him. He's like, are you guys fucking gnomes? And then shoom, his head gets chopped off. And it's the girl. Bonnie is her name. He's like, what was that about, Bonnie? I don't know. He just didn't like the look of him. Come on, Roy boy, let's go get some lunch. And they just like take off. And so I like the intent in a way, but number one, I just didn't feel like that lived up to Bonnie's character, because Bonnie is a total good girl. So for her to just be like, who's this guy? I don't know. He looks kind of weird. I'm going to chop his head off. Seemed a little bit barbaric. And number two, dude, we could have had Reborn 2, where he tries to take over the afterlife. Like,
I hope the animals steal his shoes and all his valuables.
Oh, we know he might still be planning. He might still do a Reborn 2. We know he's got more Nemesis story. We know he's got more ambassadors and nightclub.
Can you imagine Nemesis being in Reborn?
But Wesley's dead. He could have been the villain for Reborn 2.
You don't need to have what he said that he doesn't want to do a bunch of crossovers because somebody asked him, now that we know all these stories take place in the same universe, like somebody asked him like if we'll see Huck show up in a Prodigy or whatever, and he's like, no, probably not, because it takes away the specialness of events like this.
Yeah, sure, and I totally respect that. You can go way too crossover happy and ruin stuff, but this is a good opportunity to at least have a one shot story of like a 6-issue miniseries, and do. I mean, you could do a Reborn 2 without him, but
you could do it. Like I said, if you want to do Reborn, do it with Nemesis.
Well, Nemesis isn't dead. Well, Wesley is, yet. And I liked this page here because it's like, oh, the story isn't over yet. Don't you want to know what happened? You're like, oh, it's like hinting at like another story. And then nope, it just felt very Hollywood to me.
I wanted the animals to murder him. Seriously, that would be more fun. Make him
yes, but also the other big deal too is I just don't. This is not Bonnie's character, which is really weird for me to say that because Mark Miller created her. So like, obviously he knows her. It's Mark's character, but this does not feel like the character that I read. So, anyways, I know what he's trying to do. This is a very '90s ending. This is a very kind of like
pick your balls, Ash.
When the bad guy finally meets his end, he just has to, but
all this basically was a trope. It's like, I'll get revenge, and then he gets killed. Yeah.
So I at least applaud him for managing to find a way to put Reborn in his comic, because he crossed over everything, and I was like, I don't know how you're gonna do that and make it work. And
He even
Reborn,
crossed over. He
See
even
all the-
fit in like little American Jesus Easter
See.
eggs.
So yeah, there you go. It's his
So
names.
he legitimately crossed over. There was even a King of Spies. The
Yep.
character wasn't
Yeah,
featured so
Eggsy.
much, but he's in one of the panels.
Well, Eggsy had a whole moments. He like rescues Hit Girl.
Eggsy did, but he's Kingsman. He's not King of Spies.
Oh, King of Spies. Yeah, you're right. Kingsman,
King of
King of
Spies
Spies.
is the
Yeah,
other
so
guy.
Starlight is right there. You see next to the Hit Girl in the
So
MPH.
where was King of Spies in the book?
There was some panel. I think it was either in this issue or the previous one, but there's like a panel showing the alien armada over Earth, and you see a guy from his profile. He looks like the guy from King of Spies. Like you can see his beard.
So Space is the one
and-
you're thinking of, yeah. With
So
with
this book
and
right
you're just
here,
like, oh,
Space Bandit, it's really hard to see. It's kind of small.
Sure.
Space
Yeah.
Bandits, I believe, is who those two girls were.
The Space Bandits. Okay.
Those two girls
I like how
are
Huck has a line about Sharky and the Green Kid. Like, isn't there a TV show about you? Like Mandalorian.
nice. So yeah,
Pretty funny.
he managed to put it all in there and find a way. I mean, some people obviously got more
Yeah.
time. I'm curious to see what the American Jesus stuff is. I'm very glad that he didn't.
It wasn't like a character. It was like little voting things because there's like some election
Uh,
that's in the story of American Jesus. So there's like a bunch of voting signs, like vote for. I think it's Jody is the name of the politician.
okay.
So it's very subtle. Like I didn't know about it until I went looking on Twitter and somebody had found like these Easter eggs and was posting pictures of them.
Well, look at this. He
Oh,
even gives you a reading order. Start here in Wanted,
ah,
and then go through.
that's odd. Kick-Ass is actually third on the list of where you start. Ah,
Well, I'm glad.
it
So American
actually,
Jesus, apparently, the events in this book predate all of this. So
yeah.
that seems to.
Yeah.
I'm very curious about this book. I'm like, have trepidation, but I'm super curious.
So I looked it up. It was the issue before the issue 4. The variant had those girls on there, along with the King of Spies guy. They were on a variant cover.
Some of these feel like you don't have to read King of Spies. Like,
Yeah.
obviously Mark
No.
Miller wants you to read all of his stuff, but I'm like, do I really need to read King of Spies to understand Big Game? I
Right.
recommend it. It's one of my favorite things that he's done in recent times. In recent times being like, I guess magical. Well, I don't know if this is chronological. Hit Girl in Columbia, you can. Oh, Mark Miller wrote Hit Girl in Columbia. I might have to read that one because he did
Yeah,
a
'cause he didn't
spinoff.
do the Kick-Ass. What was it, Kick-Ass 2 or 3?
Yeah, with the girl.
Where the girl takes over. Yeah, he didn't do that one.
Yeah, that failed pretty hard.
Yeah, so I heard.
So in the database, Kick-Ass is now they changed his name. Dave Lizzie is now known as America.
America,
Chavez.
kick ass.
Well, actually, sorry to say it, but they have Kick-Ass and starring in this issue 5, but they also have a cameo by America, Dave Lizzie. To
Nice.
kind of spoil it.
I'm just gonna call him Kick Ass America.
Yeah, why not? Hit Girl has a whole bunch of books actually.
She's
There's
really
Hit Girl in
popular.
Colombia, Hit Girl in Canada, Hit Girl in Rome, Hit Girl in Hollywood, Hit Girl in Hong Kong, and Hit Girl in India.
But
And
Miller didn't write
they're
those.
all trade. Did he not?
Mm-mm. Though I believe the Hit Girl in Hollywood was Kevin Smith, if I remember right.
Peter Milligan did write some of these. Daniel Way wrote some of these. Okay, so I take that back. Jeff Lemire wrote one. Yeah, so Mark Miller only wrote the Columbia one. Jeff Lemire did the Canada one. Raphael Albuquerque did Rome. I think Kevin Smith did the Hollywood one.
Yeah, so I think this was a period of experimentation where Miller was trying to relaunch his characters, but like let other people do it because he didn't want to write those anymore, but
yeah,
basically make sequels for these characters and let other people do them, which I'm fine with. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it just didn't the problem is when you're like
Yeah.
Mark Miller, you're top of your game. Finding someone who's competent to take your characters, like that's really tough. Like,
Yeah.
so.
But
Anyways,
Steven
that is.
Spielberg let Joe Johnson direct Jurassic Park 3. Like,
Yeah, Jurassic Park 3 was pretty awful.
yeah, it was until the Jurassic World 2 came out. Then that
I
made
still
it
haven't seen
much
that one.
better than it is. Don't. Yeah, Mark, this has definitely got me to reading a bunch of Mark. Like, I've got several of these that I still need to read through. Like, I still need to read Huck. I haven't started on Empress yet. I'm looking for Prodigy, the second trade.
Miles per hour. Those are the ships that called aliens.
Yeah, miles per hour. That's like guys that take a drug, I think, that gives them super speed.
Oh, was it that? Okay, then.
Superior is kind of like Shazam, like a kid makes a deal with the devil.
The aliens are from Starlight. This is Duke McQueen.
Starlight has
Oh,
aliens.
yeah, you're right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of good stuff here. Huck, from what I've seen of it, Huck is really good.
I haven't read most of this stuff. I haven't read Superior or the Kingsman. I mean, I've saw the movies.
Yeah, I want to read the Kingsman. I haven't
read Super Crooks, despite the fact that apparently it takes place in the Jupiter's Legacy universe, to which I love. I haven't read MPH or Starlight or Hit Girl in Columbia. I've read all the the original the two Kick-Asses and the Hit Girl I read.
Yeah.
I haven't read Empress or Huck. I did read Reborn. I read Magic Order Volume 1. I have both volumes of Prodigy. I have not read Sharky or Space Bandits. Space Bandits actually came out during a time when Mags Visaggio was doing her book with like Space Bandits. I forget what it was called. They made like a TV show that lasted like 6 episodes. And I remember just getting such a bad taste in my mouth. And Mark Miller released this book called Space Bandits, and it looked just like the Max Visaggio book. And I should have known better. But whatever reason, I was just like, whatever. I just was off put. But Matteo Scalera does the art, which he's one of my favorite. He's the same artist that did King of Spies, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, he's really good.
So now I'm like, I gotta read Space Bandits. So I did read Nightclub, King of Spies. I've read all the modern stuff.
Kick-Ass published through? Was Kick-Ass Image?
Kick-Ass, I believe all this. I think Wanted and maybe the early Kick-Asses weren't Image, because I think he started off with like Icon.
Yeah, because I see he has Kick-Ass listed 2018, 2019. There's that.
I want to say, well, that was it predates. It predates even.
Yeah.
But Miller started, I believe, with
Kick-Ass was Icon. Kick-Ass was Icon.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Then they reprinted it, I think, under Image.
Yep. And so Marania reminds us it was called Vagrant Queen. That was the name. Yep. Thank you, Marania. Marani says, the end of the villain reminds me of a Harlan Ellison story about a villain who time traveled to time dinosaurs, escaped dying, and spoiler, he dies anyway because it's not the expected way. Yeah, that does seem kind of a tropey. I feel like that's really familiar, but I can't put my finger on it.
It's like a guy who survives. I survived. I'm alive. Then gets eaten by a T-Rex or something like that.
She says when Miller spoiled the beans about more Nemesis books, he could have still offered him in a big game, and then, like the Phoenix of mythology, a new Nemesis rises from the ashes and it continues. Yeah. That's a good point. I hadn't thought of it from that angle. The way he tweeted about it, though, it made it sound like it was the Nemesis that we know, not like a Nemesis reboot. So either way, I just wish he could have waited like an extra week or two before he said, not like, while big game is undergoing.
I don't have that problem because I didn't see his tweet on Twitter.
Well, yay for you.
Quit following creators.
What? Hypocrite.
You're the one complaining.
Yes, because I here's the thing. One of the things I love about this book is not knowing what was going to happen. And I knew that anyone could die because he killed tons of people. And I was like, is Nemesis going to live through this? Or is he going to are they going to kill him? Like, I don't know. And so by him saying it's like, okay, well, I guess they don't get Nemesis. So it didn't ruin the book for me, but I just would have preferred not knowing anything. Trying to catch up on some of these comments. Rania is defending her love of Gary Frank. She says, but he's not better than Gary Frank, Ivan Reis, Jason Fabok of the modern era, and Bob Layton of all time. So I applaud Rania for her loyalty to Gary Frank, but I'm going to stand with my boy Zach. Pepe Larraz is phenomenal in this issue.
Gary Frank over Bob Layton any day. Sorry, yeah.
There's several people I'd put above Gary Frank.
Well, I put a lot of people above Gary Frank, but I do agree he's A-list tier today.
So if Gary Frank's above Bob Layton, you put people even way before Bob Layton.
I need to see more Justin Fabok. Like, I am not super familiar with his work, so I know that he's super popular because I remember when he came in and his name was all over the place. But then he kind of went on the outs with DC, and then I just didn't see it, and so he was more of a name that I heard reputation of more than really experiencing his work. I also think Pepe Larraz is an artist that is kind of like coming into his own because he did the art for the House of X. That's how I discovered him. And I enjoyed the art there. I was like, oh, this is good. But I also was like, it's not the best. His art in this book is way better than House of X. Like the level of improvement that he's come between the two is pretty amazing. So to see an artist on the uprise, it's nice to see that's like, oh, this guy's still getting better. A lot of artists are on the decline, like my boy Frank Miller. He hasn't drawn anything amazing in 20 years. It's like at this point I'm kind of like, Frank, just put the pen down. Like put the like just you can't draw anymore. And it makes me sad because I love Frank Miller, but John Romita Jr., the guy's been on the decline for seemingly 15 years at least.
Before he's only good when someone else is inking him.
I disagree.
Josh Jansen, when he back in the day, when he was on Spider-Man.
I really like his art on Kick-Ass, and he did the penciling of the art.
Yeah, I can't. I hate the original art for Kick-Ass. I just can't stand it. I love the story, but
well, it's fine. Everyone is entitled to their, what they like and dislike. I can respect it.
Mariah.
She says, "Whoa, this is crazy talk putting Gary Frank over Bob Layton. Frank is a modern equivalent of Layton, but Layton's one of the all-time masters."
Was
can I say I'd put Dale Eaglesham over both of them?
I would probably agree. There's certain things that Gary Frank does really well that no one else does. And if you like those things,
Sarah. Sorry.
Oh,
who's the artist for Sarah?
Oh, what's his name? I used to not like him either, but Sarah was so good. He also did the Ed Brubaker Captain America.
Steve Englehart? Oh, not
No.
Englehart. It's what is it called? It's Steve something.
That's Elizabeth Breitweiser.
No, she's a colorist.
Garth Ennis wrote it, but who is the artist?
Oh, she was one of the Steve Epting.
Steve Epting.
That's what it is, Steve.
The other guy that I was actually just thinking of, because he did some Hickman Fantastic Four stuff.
I gotta tell you, man, Mark Miller, I really appreciate. I mean, first of all, he's talented, but all of his books, he never skimps on the artist. He doesn't always put the top artist on. Like Prodigy has fine art, but it's not like the best. But some of my favorite modern artists, I mean, Chrononauts was, of course, Sean Gordon Murphy. Jupiter's Legacy was Frank Quietly. I know you guys have your problems with John Romita Jr., but I think the guy is a Hall of Famer, kick ass.
I like John Romita Jr. I like the guy.
I liked him when he first was drawing, when he was trying to copy his dad's style.
Jorge Jimenez on Nemesis. I think Mateo Scalera is an up and comer. King of Spies is the best thing I've seen him draw. So like his art just keeps getting better. I can't wait to see what the next thing he does. Pepe Larraz and Big Game went to A-list for me. This is the best thing I've seen him do. I liked his stuff before. I thought he was a very solid artist, but I wouldn't have put him in the game. Pun not originally intended, but I'll keep it until this issue. This comic series is phenomenal. I hope Miller keeps giving these guys work. I want to see Miller and Jeff Johns both competing to make like their own shared universes and throwing money at these artists and making super top quality stuff, because one of two things that's going to happen with that. Either A, it's going to cause Marvel and DC to up their game, which is good for fans, or it's just going to give us good alternatives so we cannot have to be tied to those companies. One of the two.
I don't know, man. Like you said, I hope it doesn't like. I hope it does way better than Image did.
It does better than Image did. What are you talking about?
As far as Image in when it first came out was like a serious, I guess some would say a serious competitor to the Marvel DC in the back in the '90s when they first were starting.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like Image has just kind of been like, hey, we're here. That's about it. You know, a lot of the talents, as far as these guys, Gary Frank stuff. I hope at this company, like I hope that they are able to basically make enough profit and keep gather more interest, get more fans, and this become as even better than some of the like I said, I said, the most popular companies right now is you have Image, but I mean Marvel and DC will always trump them. I would love to see Miller World to get to that level where because he's got his own Mark Miller's got his own Netflix thing company, or he sold it, Miller World or whatever. I would love to see more people who don't read comic books discovering these properties. I might want to go read a comic book.
Yeah.
But imagine if Miller World and all that stuff is the answer to basically there's a lot of woke, but this is a guy who's got a bunch of in the company doing non-woke stuff. It's what we've been wanting since 2018, 2019. When people, the whole movement online was like, well, trying to get books that we can create books for us that way that we can appreciate and love, and they're doing that. Like, I mean, I just hope that this becomes more entertaining, more popular. So I obviously I would love to see because Miller has already done. We especially saw this big game. We saw his version, like a glimpse of what was supposed to be like Superman. We've got Bobby, who's supposed to be like stuff. Robert Gordon. I would love to see him to do more superhero stuff.
Yeah, well,
Obviously,
this book seemed like a little bit of a reference to be like the old school is dead and the Miller world is the future. That's what it
Crisis is
seemed
over.
metaphorically.
Yeah.
Like he obviously doesn't control those IPs or whatever, but in
No,
his
no.
world, those characters existed at least by implication, and now he's let them be dead because he can't write them, and he's created a world where he's like, oh, now we got these new characters. So he's like wrote like an unofficial sequel to the DC universe that's like now his world. And if you want as a fan, you can come in with your own headcanon and just be like, oh, I'm just gonna pretend that this is what happens. Like, and I'll follow this universe now because what DC is doing is unappealing to me, and I don't want to follow that anymore. So we'll see. I'm ecstatic. Like my only that's not really a worry, but Miller can't write everything. So I would like to see these books take off, and I want to see. Hopefully, Big Game draws some attention because it's definitely done that for me, and I was already a Miller fan. But there's plenty of his books I haven't read just because individually, I was like, this doesn't seem so interesting to me. But as I'm becoming more and more of a fan of his work, the more I'm now wanting to try these other things. And now that I've had like a little sampling in this sort of like crisis event that he wrote for his stuff, all these characters, I'm like, I want to know more about them. I got to go read that book, you know? And maybe there's more people that are doing that. And if more people start following that, I think shared universes bring people in.
They
I
do.
think there's a reason
Uh,
DC and Marvel succeeded for so long. There's a reason why the MCU succeeds. And it's not just because they make good. I mean, we've had good superhero movies that aren't the MCU, right? But the reason why the MCU transcended all that, I believe, is because people want that connection. They want to follow it all. And I think that's why the original Captain Marvel made over $1 billion because they felt like, hey, if I don't see this movie, I'm missing out on part of the story. I think there's something to that. Um,
yeah,
so
like I said, I look at how popular Invincible's come. Like stuff like that. Robert Kirk's been doing that. Like I said, I hope that Miller gets the same level of success. Because I wonder how many people are watching the animated series are now going back and buying those reprints. New
mm,
fans.
I don't know. Robert Kirkman's a different animal. I really respect him as a comic book
Yep, yep,
creator and as a publisher, but I don't like the fact that he seems to abandon stuff. Like
true.
to me, I'm just like, you've got Invincible, you've got like this whole universe. You did this story, and you kind of like, okay, I'm done with the story. I'm moving on. Could you maybe find other talent to come in and write in that universe? You can please, by all means, move on, but keep your IPs active. Let people, and don't just put dead weight on it. I don't want to see you just make garbage. But if I were him, I would be trying to build a legacy with my characters. But who knows? Zach, you've been kind of quiet.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Oh, not much. No, I like this a lot. I'm really into a bunch of Mark Miller books right now. And yeah, I can't wait to see what else he has planned coming up in the future. So
Well, he's got two Wanted series that we know about, two
two
more
Wanted,
nightclub series.
Nightclub, Ambassadors. I kind of got the feeling like he was teasing something with Huck, maybe. Um. So yeah, I mean, just he's
My
got a ton of
guess,
stuff he can do. I agree. He does need to maybe get like I don't know if he needs to do like Jeff Johns and get a whole bunch of people working with him, but at least get like maybe one or two other guys.
mhm.
Maybe some up and comer writers that can still learn a couple of that he can still like teach some stuff to. But because I feel like you know, you get like two young guys, you can like have them for a while. They can be like he can like tutor them, or they can be like his apprentices maybe. But
Yeah.
anyway,
I would expect too. He's probably going to do some original stuff.
probably.
He doesn't do tons of sequels. He does sequels, but he tends to like to
You know,
bring new properties out.
if it's a sequel, like it has to be a good sequel. Like he's not gonna come back and do a sequel just for the sake of one, like a
Right.
cash grab. Like there's gonna be a reason for it. So
Right. All right. Well, we're reaching the end here. It's Thanksgiving week. Um, I don't know really how to tie in Thanksgiving to comic books. You guys are doing a special showtime over on the Geeky Puppet Show Wednesday, I hear.
Yep.
Yeah, we're
Yep.
doing a special Wednesday show.
Yep. Normal top 5 Tuesday, 8 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Pacific. But Wednesday's gonna do an extra hour early. We're gonna do it at 7 p.m. Central. Only go for about an hour because we're doing offline reading. It's for which will be airing on Thursday nights. So for those who are not celebrating Thanksgiving, you'll have something to watch.
Or if
Yeah,
you are
because
celebrating Thanksgiving and you end up watching TV like so many other people,
that's true.
you can just watch YouTube
I'll
videos.
be uploading that on Thursday in the time slot that we have or I think. But
So Void Rivals
right around
comes
there.
out this Wednesday. That seems to be
Yep.
a prime choice for us to cover. Do we have another book that
Well, let me look.
Ah,
Godzilla. I'd say about Godzilla probably because I know Zach's getting that. That's on my list to do as well. Just like Godzilla.
there's also Sean Gordon Murphy has a new plot holes issue coming out next week too.
Yep.
Yep, are you guys still reading that?
Yeah, I'm still
Yeah.
reading it. Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
getting the B cover if I can get it. But also the final, or actually not that's not the final issue, is it? Just Society America #7. Is it go for 12?
12 issues. Yeah.
Yeah. So the new issue that comes out as well.
Yep.
Looks like we're getting more Stargirl because we have Lena Wayne, Huntress, and Batman's on the cover too, along with Solomon Wayne. I mean, not Solomon Wayne, Solomon Grundy. Wow. But yeah, and then the second issue of Jake Garrick, the Flash, and World's Finest. So quite a few good books coming out this week.
All right, so we'll have to settle on one. Void Rivals seems to be for sure. I'm definitely digging that
Yep.
book. It's getting getting
I'm
better.
curious about the Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong because the first one was set up and I actually did enjoy it. So here is to see if it continues. It's not Matthew Rosenberg, so I have faith for it.
Yeah, I read the first issue and I thought it was okay. Um, it didn't totally hook me, but it didn't upset me either. It just was kind of it's like eating like a fast food burger. Tasted fine. Better with McDonald's Coke. Did you see this? Rick Remender has a new book coming out with Andy Samberg.
I did. I'm kind of tempted to check this one out.
I
Holy
want
roller.
Laser Cats. Okay.
I
It's
mean, a superhero that uses bowling balls.
yep.
I
Andy
mean,
I mean Andy Samberg's just a weirdo, but I like him.
But
I like him too.
it's kind of like you say his skit he did with laser cats or cats that shoot lasers out of them. It was the stupidest thing ever, but it's funny. So I'm curious to how this will go.
And the artist on this is Roland Boschi. I think that's how
I'm
you
not.
pronounce his name. He's the
The cover.
artist who did
Dude.
the other Rick Remender book. What was it?
So
Scumbag.
there's one thing that worries about this. There's multiple writers. And that's how when I saw that book with Robert Venditti, oh, it's great. And then I saw he had another writer on the team as well. And the book ended up sucking. So as much as I love Rick Remender, I don't know Joe Troman, and I don't know how well Andy Samberg or how much how much
Well,
input he's putting into
Andy Samberg I mean, he's written movies. Um, I
what
mean,
movies.
he wrote I think he writes all of his movies, but the one that I really liked was the one where he was like the pop singer. Um,
The one with them.
Don't stop, never stopping, or something like
yeah,
that.
don't, yeah, yeah, it was funny. I think he's a talent.
I've only ever seen him in That's My Boy or Hot Rod.
Oh man, what? God, that
I
movie is
actually, I remember liking Hot Rod.
Don't
Hot
Stop,
Rod was
Never
great.
Stopping. I thought it was.
It's called.
I think those
Yeah.
movies. It might just be called Pop Star though. But he basically plays a boy band guy. Like it's a total
Yeah.
rip on like
It's a Lonely Island Club.
yeah,
Whatever they're
yeah.
called.
And Joe Troman, I guess, is part of the band Fallout Boy. It's a popular thing now for rock band artists to get into comic books. Um, who knows? I'm guessing this is a collaboration thing, and then they were like, "We don't know how to write comics. Hey, Rick, you write comics. Want to work with us?" Um, that's my guess that he's sort of there to tie it and give it some legitimacy. But the art is going to be fantastic. This I don't know if you guys ever saw Scumbag, but the art is unbelievably good. This seemed just absurd. A bowling ball vigilante, but it's 42 pages and they're only charging $3.99.
Nice.
So, anyways, I'm gonna bring it to your attention. You guys decide for yourself whether you want to get it or not. I definitely think it deserves consideration at the very least.
If it gets a callback to Laser Cats, I'll never use bowling balls ever again. No.
Marvel's got a new Carnage book, like they do just
Yep,
about
it's
every
by that
couple of
Thorn that girl that I've been liking, Torun Grunbeck.
just like about every couple of months they'll reboot Carnage. So here you go, big
I
giant
didn't read the
number
story.
one to make you.
Yeah. So it's basically all this is this. Oh, now Cletus Cassidy is now rebonded with the Carnage symbiote. That's my understanding. And I skipped after Ram V basically jumped ship from Marvel, so I haven't really read anything from the other guy who took over for him.
I have zero interest.
And that's the thing. But I do like her on Red Sonja, the current book. The current book's been awesome. It's actually been Red Sonja being Red Sonja. It's not as much. I love Dan Abnett, but it's not Red Sonja. It's Red Sonja like comedy. Yeah.
That's kind of weird.
Expanse is out, number 7 of 12. But Andy Diggle, been enjoying that. It's been a fun book. Lunar Lodge is the one I caught my attention. I just was looking at that earlier. It's a 4-issue miniseries, but this guy looking for his wife who thinks that she's having an extramarital affair. But pay attention to the Lunar title.
Okay.
Well, werewolf, Lunar.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my mind wasn't
Yeah.
going there at all. I was thinking of like space, but fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not a lot of interesting stuff for me this week. So, Holy Roller.
Daredevil, Black Armor, number 1. Because that
No.
costume was ugly back in the 90s. Now we got to bring it back.
Wow, Marvel just has no idea what they're doing.
Like who? I don't know who these people are. These writers.
DJ
Rising Star,
Chichester.
Nito Diaz, Mark Bagley. He is doing covers. Yeah, I don't know. Some guy in his 50s writing a book. It probably is. You know what I think this is probably these people who are writing for TV shows. Just popping
The
it out.
story is set during the landmark run with the character. This was not a landmark run. There's not a single story in here that anyone recalls as some sort of great thing. If you want to talk about a landmark run with Daredevil, you got to go back to the 80s. You know, like this is you're right. This was not a popular Daredevil fans did not like this armor. It looks stupid. This looks like the bad stuff from the 90s that we hated. I get that Marvel is trying to go back to like more classic stuff because they want to bring back these old, but I just don't get it. Like you're failing with the modern Daredevil book. You got Saladin Ahmed on it writing a joke. I don't get it. I don't get it. But if you are into it, maybe anyone listening, don't mean to offend. People are like, man, Black Armor series is my favorite. What are you doing? There's another Moon Knight book coming out that's not the normal Moon Knight book. Are either of you guys?
No, it's David Prepose continuing his City of the God or whatever, or City of the Dead. Yeah, I didn't read it. I just skipped it. I just didn't care for it.
Yeah, I just don't understand. It's like you got Moon Knight. Just do your Moon Knight book.
Oh yeah, and Moon Knight is supposed to be. They said like, oh, Moon Knight's ending, only to learn that I guess it's restarting.
Yeah,
course.
it's the same creative team, so I don't know what the big deal is. Why they couldn't just keep
They
on
got
with their current numbering, but
gotta
they
get
gotta
a
do that. They gotta Marvel. They gotta do the new number one.
gotta get the number one. They gotta sell
It's
multiple
literally the
covers.
same creative team. It's literally Chip Zdarsky and Marco Cicchetto on Daredevil all over again,
Yep.
where they had to cancel it and then reboot it with the same team.
This is kind of an intriguing cover here for World's Finest. What do you guys? Any of you guys still interested in this book?
Oh yeah, World's Finest is still fire.
Yeah,
That's
dude.
still one of the best books that
Part
DC
two,
has right now.
part two of Kingdom Come. They finally met his in the last issue. They came across his Superman's sidekick that went disappearing. Found out he grew up in the World's Finest verse, reality, and now they're coming blows to blows with, I guess, with their counterparts.
So this looks like Kingdom Come Superman.
It is. Yep.
Which Batman is this?
It's supposed to be Kingdom Come, I guess.
Also Kingdom Come?
Yep. Because they're in the Kingdom Come universe.
Okay.
The last issue, they show Batman and Superman follow him into, I think through with the help of Mr. Terrific. They tune into where no, actually no, it wasn't him. It was Barry Allen, who's been traveling the multiverse, came across this part, and so they were thrown in there, but and they came across, well, it was I forget who it was. It was at somebody's funeral. I think it was, and it might have been Superman and Batman there, and then you saw all the graves of all the heroes that are dead, the cemetery. But
I guess if I read the subtext here, it says Return to Kingdom Come Part 2, then I would have made that connection. Man, this book's got 6 covers. Oh, this is a weird cover.
It's Todd McFarlane.
What the?
The action figures. That's dumb.
That's.
I don't know. Six covers isn't a lot. Have you seen Marvel? Have you seen Dynamite?
Well, it is for an issue. What issue number is this?
21.
Yeah. I mean, if it was like a milestone.
They all have like pretty much five covers. They've been doing this.
Oh, look, there's the Happy Holidays variant.
Yeah, you can turn it into a postcard if you want to.
So stupid. Who's gonna? You can pay $5.99 and then cut up your book and turn it into a postcard.
I think that might be an old cover that goes over your book. But you know damn well someone's gonna buy this and collect it and then try to sell it later on, a couple years from now.
Well, that's what comic books do. That's what you do with them.
As long as DC doesn't just keep releasing the same one over again like they did the last couple of years, the same Christmas covers. They reuse the same covers all the freaking time.
Well,
and then I dropped this book because it's all about Riri Williams again. He needs Riri Williams in order to create his armor. I'm done.
I mean, she's the bestest.
She is the bestest.
Yeah.
Because she is wielding the Mandarin rings.
Oh, so stupid.
The only way Gary Duggan wins me back is if he kills Riri Williams. Like the rings corrupt her, and Tony has to just kill her.
That's not happening.
No.
Riri Williams is untouchable.
Mm-hmm.
Untouchable. And that's what makes these characters uninteresting. Because you realize that they're just political pawns. and so they can't actually be used to do anything
Like,
controversial. You can't kill them all. Like you can kill Spider-Man, right?
yeah.
You can break Batman's back. You can kill Superman. You can't
This
touch
story's been
Riri
going on.
Williams.
This
She
story's
has
been
to
going
be
on for so
awesome.
long. I feel if yeah, this this story's been going on at least more than 12, about 12 issues now. At least this I think this arc started like in the numbers 5 or 6 or whatever legacy number you want to go with attach that. But I mean the whole thing is this that in order to stop this guy from using his sentinels from just wiping out mankind and all the mutants, he has to basically build a new armor. So and then he has to go to Willie Williams to get the ring so he can take this mysterious new element, space metal element from this pocket universe or whatever that the mutant somehow got a hold of called Mysterium. And in order to make the armor he has, he needs really these rings. He needs the rings power to
It's
do
called
it.
Mysterium.
Yeah.
All right, I don't want to
Don't
hear
ask me.
anyone. I don't want to hear anyone poke fun of Avatar's unobtainium ever again.
Well, how do you
If they
obtain
like
it
this book.
if it's unobtainium? That's anyway. So yeah, I looked ahead. It's going to take another 4 or 5 issues because then Tony once he's his armor, it's not enough. He has to build an army in order to take on the villain, and then eventually Rhodey's coming back in the War Machine costume on the cover. It's like, nope, I'm done.
Oh, that's Rhodey on the cover there?
No. 4 issues from now, you're gonna have Rhodey appearing in the War Machine because right now Rhodey's sitting in prison, getting his ass beat.
Well, the War Machine armor by this point is so out of date. If Tony has to build a new armor, what the heck's War Machine gonna do? Well, I don't
Yeah.
understand. Man, Duggan is just what issue is this? Like 14? He's still doing an X-Men crossover? Like is Iron Man
Yep.
just becoming like an X book?
Pretty much. I mean, he fake married Emma Frost under a different alias. She's under a different alias, for looks, because right now Emma Frost is in hiding because the main villain wants to kill her too. So he's basically become the new part of the new Hellfire Club that's run by, guess what? Kingpin. Wilson Fisk is back in town.
Oh my god. Kingpin running the Hellfire. I'm just nope. Done.
Yeah.
Done. Marania
Yeah.
did do a nice roast against Marvel. She said, he says you can tie Thanksgiving into comics really easily. A lot of the big 2 books are flat out turkeys. That's a good one. All right, Zach is falling asleep, so we need to go. You guys have been keeping Zach up way too long. Shame on you all. Thank you for joining us. Zach, do you have any final thoughts you want to say before you go to bed?
Final thoughts. Be thankful for Mark Millar and Jeff Johns and the good work that they're doing.
Yes.
There you go. Also for Mariko Tamaki, finding something that she can write and do fairly well with Monarch on Apple TV. So
Even if it is
maybe
she
she'll
just gets
stay
the
over.
coffee
Maybe
for the
she'll
other
stay
writers.
over there and maybe she'll stay over there and leave comics alone. I don't know.
We can only pray.
Yes.
All right, and you, RDV.
As far as this book?
Final thoughts. Keep with the.
Oh, okay. And we're doing the final thoughts finally for the other one.
Yeah, this
Or
what it
just,
was. I just talking with Zach. Come on, I know you tune out when you're not on the mic, but
final thoughts on all of this. Check out the Geeky Puppet Show tomorrow.
yeah. Check out the Geeky Puppet Show. Read good comics. There still are good comics out there.
It's late.
They may not be, and it is late. I understand. There's still good comics out there. We support indie books because they're good. And you don't always have to read big two books, and you don't have to stop reading big two books to enjoy indie comics. So you don't feel like
Right.
you don't have to make a choice if you don't want to, but open your horizons.
You
Try
can
other
read
stuff.
indie books and still read Ryan North's Fantastic Four, and
Yep,
that's okay.
you
Uh,
can.
See,
And
I gotta question your judgment when you say something's good now because you say right because you like Ryan North.
Yeah.
I
You
did
don't
read
like John Romita Jr.'s art though, so
A
let's
lot of
not.
people don't. A lot of people don't like his art, bro.
I did read the first issue of Ryan North's Fantastic Four. Excuse me.
You are excused.
I had
Not
something in
because
my
you
I had
wrote it.
something in my throat. Won't go away. I did read the first issue of Ryan North's Fantastic Four, and I was surprised that I didn't hate it. So
Your God.
that's all I'm gonna say.
Next you're gonna say you're reading Dan Slott's Fantastic Four.
I'm gonna say, well, I haven't read Dan Slott's Fantastic Four, but I've read other Dan Slott stuff, and it was better than the stuff I've read of Dan Slott. Dan Slott's pretty atrocious.
Is
He wrote
pretty
a
bad.
Silver Surfer book that I was just like, oh my gosh, this is how did this guy even get hired as a writer? I don't get
I
it.
really think his She-Hulk run is really an abnormality. Like it shouldn't be as readable as it is. But anyway, I'll digress. We're
All right,
talking
we're
about
out of
things
here.
we're thankful for. I'm not thankful for Dan Slott, so I'm not going to talk about him anymore.
Anya has linked the Tuesday
I'm
RPGs.
thankful for not having seen one single panel or word from Ryan North.
All right.
Okay.
Anya has linked her Tuesday RPGs that she runs over on I think it's on the I Love. Wait, which channel is
I
that
love
on?
comics.
I Love
I love
Comics.
puppets. No,
So she's running a
I love
Marvel
comics.
RPG campaign. If that interests you, go check that out on
I'll be there.
Tuesdays.
Yeah.
And yeah, you guys are in the RPG. Are you both still in the
No,
RPG?
Zach was in. Zach decided not to be and left me with Dalton.
Oh. So you can witness RDV's exploits over there. And
You get to hear me when it's my turn. That's at the end of the stream because there's so many freaking people on the roster.
it is Thanksgiving, as everyone is well aware. I know it's popular to make fun of Thanksgiving, like getting together with obnoxious family members and having arguments. And I see it all the time when Thanksgiving is talked about. Like people like, oh, people like grumble under their breath and like how like annoying it is. And I'm just be thankful for having family. Sometimes they're not always the easiest to get along with, but trust me, when you don't have any family, you wish you did. So um, try to see the blessings this Thanksgiving if you can. Um, we all have some blessings and try to focus on those. I hope you do have a happy Thanksgiving. Everyone stay safe. Hope you have a really good meal.
Wear your
And
manga hats.
why are you turning it? What? Yeah, just
Wait. Do you even have Thanksgiving in California? Or are you guys still like 6 feet apart and like wear the masks?
we don't talk about it. The internet's monitored. All right, everyone. Have a good night. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you on the flip side.
Good night, everybody.
Later, guys.